to get to the bottom of what happened.
Caroline, the DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's
hey, everybody,
transparency.
welcome.
Oh, on that,
Sure.
Caroline. Okay, so the FBI
Black
looks
Book
into
Friday
circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list.
Light the fires.
So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network, on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Zero Dark Tony Show. We're just going to get right into it today. We're going to be talking about the Epstein list. The list, the black book, the flight logs. We're going to be talking about it all today, ladies and gentlemen. And to start, we are going to be showing you some articles here and some videos that we are going to do some commentary along with. Of course, this is all fair use and giggity. Court documents reveal names of powerful men allegedly linked to Jeffrey Epstein. All right, well, they are allegedly linked. But there are others that are a little more than allegedly linked, all right? Now, as we continue to look at this article, court documents made public Wednesday, and this article, by the way, is from January 4th of 2024, all right? This is NPR. And now, court documents made public on Wednesday disclosed the names of dozens of powerful men with alleged connections to convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, who died by suicide in 2019. Now, remember, when you hit the like button, I want you also to remember that a lot of these people were associated with Epstein after his conviction. First conviction was already done. They knew he had already been convicted for crimes against minors. And here they are. And we have a few of them here today to introduce you to. Now, federal judge Loretta Preska in Manhattan unsealed the documents revealing the names of numerous individuals described in a 2015 civil lawsuit as associates, affiliates, or victims of Epstein. Now, here are some names. The documents include references to former presidents Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, who is our current president, obviously. The magician David Copperfield, who I'll bet he wishes this all could disappear. Prince Andrew, former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, actor Kevin Spacey, lawyer Alan Dershowitz, the late New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, and former Vice President Al Gore, among others. The fact that people were named in these documents doesn't mean any of them faces allegations or evidence of wrongdoing. Let's remember that. All right? Let's remember that. Many of the most prominent individuals, including U.S. politicians, British royalty, tech tycoons, and bankers, were already known to have links to Epstein because of the previous court cases or disclosure in the media. Most of those publicly named have denied any wrongdoing or knowledge of Epstein's criminal activities previously, like this guy right here. And we're going to talk about Prince Andrew today. We're going to talk about Bill Gates today. Did you know that Epstein was trying to blackmail Bill Gates? Did you know this? These troves of records do offer more details on a case that has drawn huge public attention and provide new, salacious allegations about these powerful men's behavior. Federal prosecutors say Epstein, who worked for decades as a private financier for a secretive list of wealthy clients, also operated an underage sex trafficking ring based in Manhattan and Palm Beach, Florida. Epstein allegedly developed a scheme to identify and exploit dozens of vulnerable girls and young women, some as young as 14 years old, beginning around 1994 and continuing at least until 2004. Hit that like button, jump in the chat, guys. Let me know what you think. Some of his victims later claimed in civil lawsuits that Epstein instructed them to have sex with a who's who of powerful men. According to one suit filed in 2014, Epstein arranged encounters for numerous prominent American politicians, powerful business executives, foreign presidents, a well-known prime minister, and other world leaders. Okay? More than 36 documents naming Epstein's associates were compiled as a part of a 2015 civil lawsuit filed by the now late Virginia Giuffre, who we're going to talk about, but that's going to come up in the next episode, who claimed she was one of Epstein's underage victims. One of the more notable names, former President Bill Clinton, is mentioned frequently in the documents. And remember, we talked about people who protect the presidents and the presidency, two totally different things. They say that Clinton allegedly took a trip to Thailand with Epstein and include allegations from one witness who testified Epstein told her Clinton likes them young, referring to girls. So now let's get into one of the primaries here that we are talking about in the thumbnail. And what we're going to talk about here, we're going to start with Bill Gates. Now, Bill Gates, woo, that's right. We're going to start with Bill Gates right now. And this is a story about how Epstein was actually, oh, that thing keeps punching out like that, was allegedly, not actually, let me say allegedly, even though the man has passed on, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know. I don't know who knows what's going on. But the allegations are that there were many rambling emails suggesting projects with Bill Gates. Okay. So I think maybe he was getting a little zipped up and calling Bill Gates. So let's have a listen. Let's watch. Let's learn. Everybody jump in the chat and let me know what you think. We want to hear from everybody. Your voice is important here at the Zero Dark Tony channel. So please like and subscribe. All right. It was my birthday last week, and we're almost at 10,000 subscribers. So I would love to get there today. That would be fantastic. I appreciate it. Let's go.
Email suggesting projects with Bill Gates. Asked to prep presentations for new Gates-backed foundation, $100 million minimum investment, expanding on exchanging prior Gates-related interests like vaccines and maternal care. In one of those emails from February 25th, 2011, Epstein reportedly wrote, Gates guy here today. No reporters. I took care of that. Stay calm and focused. We need to speak. I am staying until very late tonight. Seeing Gates read donor on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday set aside for 2-3 hours to discuss exactly this.
This comes as more information on Epstein's dealings are coming to light amid J.P. Morgan's fresh accusations over ties to the accused sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, so these are, filings from this J.P. Morgan Virgin Islands lawsuit. So just more and more emails from J.P. Morgan officials, Epstein talking about it.
They're discussing a lawsuit, by the way, where J.P. Morgan paid the United States Virgin Islands $75 million. Right? JP Morgan paid the U.S. Virgin Islands $75 million in this, in what they're talking about right now.
All the influential, important people with lots of money that Epstein was connecting to government officials at the island, to the bank as well. His ongoing kind of relationship with Gates, which is, these messages to Gates people are 2011. So that's after he's already a known sex offender. He's been convicted. He got his house arrest or whatever kind of deal he got for. Sexual misconduct with underage girls. So you can't say, "Oh, I didn't know." It was known.
Absolutely live, baby.
There's some joking about Miley Cyrus,
All right,
who at the time of this is 15. She's a Disney star at the time.
I'm going to be muting the mic and cursing some today, so I'm aware that I'm muting. All right?
So that's again a clear inclination of an awareness of exactly the kind of thing Epstein goes for.
I mean,
it's
I could just leave
disgusting.
It on and do it like
Yeah. I think it's a bit of a lens into what the world is like for bankers in America at the very high level.
You know what I'm saying?
The emails that Li Feng posted to Twitter, you have one from a Mary Erdoes at jpmorgan.com official email to an unknown person saying, obviously they're at a party. This is, really late at night. The first email is about 8:30. This has turned into a cheesy broker fest. Totally not cool. The only cool people here are at Glenn's table, same as bat mitzvah. So maybe they've known each other for some time. The response is at 1:20 a.m. Epstein there with Miley Cyrus. And so this is like official JP Morgan emails where this exchange is happening. Was Epstein actually there with Miley Cyrus? We don't know. But the fact that they made the joke shows that these bankers on their JP Morgan emails are comfortable joking about the billionaire being out with young girls.
They were comfortable joking about a lot of really sketchy stuff. We've read these emails in the past talking about who's your favorite Disney princess. It suggests a deep familiarity with the kind of bad and illegal stuff that Jeffrey Epstein was interested in and had already been convicted for, would eventually be arrested for again. Yet right up until the very end, I've talked about this several times, but I think it's always worth bringing up, including given her recent crusade, the higher media profile she has sought for herself as part of the pushback from Democrats on Twitter files and on RFK Jr. Stacey Plaskett, the delegate of the Virgin Islands, has been front and center at these hearings, accusing Matt Taibbi of perjury, accusing RFK Jr. of anti-Semitism. Stacey Plaskett, delegate of the Virgin Islands, trying to get Jeffrey Epstein at her fundraisers as recently as 2018, I believe, the year before he was arrested again and then died in allegedly because of suicide in prison. This was someone with full knowledge and awareness of his wrongdoing, was courting his influence, his access to funds and to important wealthy people.
Right. Plaskett, who originally said that she wasn't really aware that he was donating. She was completely unaware of his donations to her campaign, which, then she had to say in deposition last month.
It's just a lie.
Yeah, she was directly introduced.
Yeah, you can see the emails from her team saying, "Oh, he's going to be there, right? Let's make sure he gets a personal invite."
Not just for the political dealings, but was an attorney at the tax firm that worked with Jeffrey Epstein. So even before she ran for public office, she knew Jeffrey Epstein.
So you see how pervasive this is. This does not just include one industry. So today, what you see in the thumbnail is you see politicians, royalty, Hollywood actors, music business, and sitting presidents They're all involved in this. This is such a pervasive network. And I'm telling you, it touches every industry worldwide, hands down.
But then there's obvious documents where she's asking that he be invited to the events. She was clearly aware, most likely directly had been speaking with Jeffrey Epstein.
And Jeffrey Epstein, had his own agenda for the Virgin Islands. He wanted the sex offender policies of the Virgin Islands changed. Wonder why that could be.
Oh, yeah, that was another thing that he was doing down there, trying to manipulate. I mean, look, when you're someone with that much money, very much like Peter Nygard, there are a lot of parallels. He is considered the Canadian Jeffrey Epstein. We're going to be talking about him another time. But when you talk about someone like Epstein going there, what do they want? They want control of their absolute control, which includes law enforcement. So he was actually trying to change laws in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Pretty crazy. Hit the like button.
He was paying for some government officials, I think, schooling for their kids.
There you go.
This is, and this is something I've, again, mentioned when we talk about this lawsuit, but because the lawsuit is from Virgin Islands to JP Morgan, but it seems pretty clear that a lot of the government officials of the Virgin Islands
you have to consider also the money that these officials are making down on the Virgin Islands. It's but a pittance compared to what someone like Epstein could offer them, right? So very tempting. Corruption is pervasive everywhere, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Very much complicit in the exact kind of nefarious, we'll find out if it's illegal, who knows, but very icky behavior that they're going after JP Morgan for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, that they are complicit as well. So whatever they recoup from JP Morgan as a result of this lawsuit, if this is just, going to build like a nicer...
This is not a show. I'm not doing this because of politics. I am going to show you both sides of the fence as far as the news goes. I'm going to show you from everyone's angle. I want you to decide and have all the information and the facts from different outlets here. All right, including right here at the Zero Dark Tony channel. So hit the like button. We want to hear your voice. You're important. You're all important here. All right? None of us is greater than all of us, my friend.
Or, governor's mansion or something or whatever it is in the Virgin Islands, that'll be pretty ridiculous because they're all over this too. So it is the victims of Jeffrey Epstein.
And we want your voice to be heard. So no matter what political proclivities you have, let it be known. Let it rip, baby.
Who need to be made whole again, not powerful people who were well aware of this pattern of abuse for 15 years.
Or maybe, do the job of passing some anti-corruption legislation. Not only was Epstein donating to Plaskett's campaign, there was an email where an aide wrote to Epstein to confirm that a $13,000 corporate donation planned for the Democratic Party, not the Plaskett campaign, would be made, quote, for the benefit of Stacey Plaskett. So this exceeds the amount that you can donate in an election cycle to an individual candidate. And this shows the kind of shady dealing.
A lot of shady dealings. Boop, boop. Just boop that screen twice. I'm giving you a boop, boop. And you just tap that screen. You can boop me back. Boop, boop. Go ahead, right there. Right there. Right there. Go ahead and boop twice. Double tap. Give me a double boop. See how I did that?
That goes on between very rich donors like Jeffrey Epstein and PACs or political campaigns, right? You're circumventing FEC regulations by saying, I'm giving this money to the Democratic Party because I can give an unlimited amount, but I'm letting you know that this needs to go to the benefit of Stacey Plaskett, which is not a decision the donor can make.
If you happen to do that, if you do that to the screen, could you just put boop in the chat? I would love to hear you just say boop in the chat. Thank you. Thank you.
Decision that the party needs to make of what to do with that money. And so that's a pretty damning facet of this whole expose as well of what's going on in the Virgin Islands. And, she's a delegate to Congress and she's risen to a pretty prominent position as well.
Yeah, she's been all over, as I said, the Twitter Files hearing. She grilled Taibbi and Schellenberger. She accused Taibbi of making up, of getting things wrong, and way overplayed her hand there. And then at this RFK Jr. hearing last week, she was one of the people, saying things that I don't think that I think are exaggerations and mischaracterizations of what RFK Jr. said.
Thank you.
She's positioning herself as very much part of the Democratic, establishment, pushing back on.
No shit. I think we just invented something new here on YouTube. The boop. I just invented the boop like. We just did it. Thank you so much. We are pioneers here at the Zero Dark Tony channel, always using the technology. Thank you.
And on people who are questioning government abuse related to social media and speech and all sorts of other things. But she has, she has some things to be looked at for.
Yeah, podcaster Joe Rogan actually suggested that Bill Clinton was blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein, who hung up a painting of Clinton in his home. Let's watch this.
Wow.
Why do you think Epstein had that giant painting of Bill Clinton in a dress in his foyer?
Dude.
Do you know that picture?
Yeah.
That painting?
Epstein's taste in art was not great. Like, if you look at the
No,
shit.
that was great. That painting is like, I got you, bitch. That's what that is.
Oh, right.
You got.
I'm going to see if I can put the painting up on screen.
I'll do it.
What do you think about the blackmailing?
I'll do it. Okay, so this is the painting. Here it is. Here is the painting. Bump, bump. Here is the painting. Bump, bump. There you go, Mr. President. Happy boop dress, blue dress to you. Look at this. Look at this. This is it. This is the dress. This was. Okay. This was. What are we talking about here? This is the dress. This is the one. This is the painting.
The response goes by his guest there on the podcast of
1,100
Joe
people in the
Rogan,
building.
because it
Hit
wasn't
that
like,
like button for me.
Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton were obviously very close for
Or
him
the
to have
other
this
option is the double boop on the screen. Tap it. Boop, boop.
painting commissioned. It was, his taste in art's pretty bad. I wouldn't want Bill Clinton in a dress on the wall. It's a hilarious response.
Well, it's not. So let's put it. So there it is.
Yeah.
So it's not actually. I don't think. So Bill Clinton. Forgive me if I'm wrong.
He didn't pose for
this. Somebody else posed for it, and it was painted, and then they just painted it to look like Bill Clinton's face. So the idea that I don't think this is evidence of that. He's being black. Like he was public knowledge. This painting. Well, I guess it later became public knowledge.
Like and subscribe, everybody. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bells. This is a multi-part series that we're doing here on the Zero Dark Tony channel. You can call me ZDT if you want.
But it's not. He wasn't trying to. Bill Clinton was like trying to prevent this painting from getting out or something. Like he didn't pose for it. It was just like anyone could do this. Mm-hmm. So as evidence of blackmail, I don't know that it really amounts to anything.
No,
personally.
But hilarious.
Hilarious nonetheless.
Hilarious. It's giving, it doesn't sound right because the client is Jeffrey Epstein, but paint me like one of your French girls.
Yeah.
But that has a whole different connotation given the Epstein situation.
Well, and given the blue dress situation.
I think the documents that are coming out, thanks to them looking into this JP Morgan case, are fascinating because we also have documents coming out alleging that Jeffrey Epstein helped connect JP Morgan to high-profile clients, like the Google co-founder Sergey Brin. I think there's just going to be more and more stuff coming out.
Oh, you betcha, lady. You bet your sweet cookies. Speaking of Bill Gates, let's back up a little bit. Let's go to the time where, Bill Gates got in a little trouble with the wifey, didn't he? Didn't he get in a little trouble with old Melinda French? Huh? Melinda French Gates, in fact? Well, let me tell you something, folks. This is Melinda French Gates. This is Bill Gates' wife. This is the interview where she says, oh, no.
As many.
We're not doing it. We're not doing it. Write a check, Bill. She gone.
Things, but I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards.
Melinda French Gates opens up following her and Bill's divorce and the role Jeffrey Epstein played in their split. The power couple revealed last year that they ended their 27.
You remember that they had a foundation. They were tied to the hip, except when he was busy.
7-year marriage.
Any of the questions remaining about what Bill's relationship there was, those are for Bill to answer.
That's Melinda sitting down with CBS Morning's Gayle King on Thursday, her first wide-ranging interview since the split announcement in May.
Divorce is a painful process, even when it's what both parties want. It still is a very painful, personal decision.
It wasn't one moment or one specific thing that happened. There just came a point in time where there was enough there that I realized it just wasn't healthy, and I couldn't trust what we had.
Among those contributing factors, Bill's...
Wow, imagine that. She said it felt unhealthy, and she could not trust what they had. This is his wife. Jeez.
Connection to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The disgraced financier died in jail in 2019 while awaiting trial for sex
hey, you ain't wrong, Brad Clark. You ain't wrong.
Trafficking charges.
You know, it was also widely reported that Bill had a friendship or business.
Definitely a possibility.
Or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein.
It's not one thing, it was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
And you made that clear to him?
I made that clear to him.
Melinda admits she met Epstein and doesn't mince words.
Can you imagine that conversation? Jesus.
About her first impression.
There's Dershowitz, there's Alan Dershowitz.
Who this man was. And
attorney.
I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It was awful.
In a statement to CBS News, Bill calls meeting with Epstein, quote, a mistake that I regret deeply. He adds it was a substantial error in judgment.
Any of the questions remaining about what Bill's relationship there was, those are for Bill to answer.
Okay.
But I made it very clear how I felt about him.
Melinda and Bill's divorce was finally...
Wow. Oh, WEF. Well, that explains a lot. that step and repeat behind them. Okay.
Finalized in August of last year.
First of all, I think, you know, I want to say that on the day I got married, I never thought I would
make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Just hit that like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. It's all free. All right. We love it. Thank you for being here.
Up being divorced. And, you know, unfortunately, I felt like I needed to take a different path, but I didn't have any sense of how big of news it would be. You can't anticipate something like that.
No, the couple shares 3 children together, and both remain involved with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Definitely a very sad milestone.
In his first interview following the divorce in August, Bill explained the split wouldn't affect their dedication towards giving back.
And Melinda's...
So we have this entire interview, so we are going to watch this interview in its entirety. Going to go right here. We're going to bump you over to this part. We're just covering Bill right now. We are going to get to Kevin Spacey. We're going to get to everybody on the thumbnail. I got you. I got you covered. All right. This is no clickbait. We're getting around to it. There's just a lot to get to. And we're going to watch a lot of clips real quick because we all have this kind of attention span, and that's what we're going to hit on today. We're going to keep it crispy and keep it moving.
It was already known that Gates had connections to the accused sex trafficker and the convicted pedophile. New evidence is coming out now that Jeffrey Epstein had tried blackmailing Bill Gates over an alleged affair that he had with a Russian bridge player. In fact, Bill Gates' wife previously said that this was the key reason why she divorced him. Remember, folks, blackmail was suspected as being a core part of Epstein's line of work. He was luring the world's top elites into honey traps, recording their, salacious activities, and then using these as tools to manipulate them as he pleased. That was the...
And that is, these are the reports. These are the stories, right? So now what we're going to do is we're just going to dip our toe in. We are going to be we're going to do an entire episode next week. And the episode is going to be about Ghislaine. All right? It's going to be about Jeffrey and Ghislaine and their relationship, their connections, what they did together and what they did separately. And we're going to get into a whole bunch of great stuff about Robert Maxwell, her father. So we're going to go back to the future on that one. But I'm going to give you a little taste of it right now. This is Ghislaine Maxwell from jail.
So they wake you up at 6. And you can go to breakfast, which consists of a cereal and a piece of fruit, generally.
banana, apple.
And then you have to make your bed sort of military style. So there's nothing that's sticking out or whatever. It has to be a prescribed way, otherwise you can, to travel, you can get what's called a shot. And the tofu has there's no seasoning allowed, so there's no salt or pepper or anything. So it's beyond tasteless. I believe that he was murdered. Well, I was shocked. And I wondered how it had happened. I obviously wish I'd never met him. You know, looking back now, her stories have changed so many times about...
She says she wished she never met him. Well, that makes sense.
What happens, when it happens, how it happens, with different versions. And each time she speaks, there's a different version. What's a fake? I don't believe it's real for a second. In fact, I'm sure it's not. There's never been an original. And further, there's no photograph. Right? And I've only ever seen a photocopy of it. Well, it's one of the most...
Me think she cut out a little bit.
They should
She cut out a little
take their disappointment and upset out on the authorities that allowed that to happen. And as I said, I hope that they have some closure by the...
Wow. I mean, imagine being in this situation, knowing all this and being in this kind of danger. I mean, you know, people get what they deserve, right? They get what they deserve. Now, here we go from the Wall Street Journal article. Epstein's private calendar reveals prominent names, including CIA chief and Goldman's top lawyer. That's Goldman Sachs. All right. So we are going to look at some of these banking connections here. All right. I'm not going to get into the Wall Street Journal because we want to get into the next part of the story, where this is so pervasive, it goes into colleges. This is Bard College president, and we are going to learn about some of the connections between Epstein and some of these educational institutions. Let's go.
President Leon Botstein. I'd like to get into this a little bit, because what the Wall Street Journal is saying is that it seems like a lot of these people were having these meetings with Epstein or trying to get in touch with Epstein because they wanted donations from him or they wanted powerful connections. Obviously, that would be very different than the worst case that they were.
And this is from Law and Crime Sidebar. All right. So you can go ahead. What? I thought I was Jesus. All right. So this is Law and Crime Sidebar. Great channel.
And got involved in this sex trafficking ring. No one's making that allegation. It's not clear that any of these meetings show that. So let's be very clear about that. But it does raise some eyebrows. So Mr. Botstein had about 24 meetings scheduled with Epstein over about 4 years. Most of them, again, were like we said, with the CIA director, were to Epstein's townhouse. According to the reporting, Botstein was trying to solicit donations from him. Epstein was a guest at Bard College in 2013 for an opera, in 2016 for a concert. Botstein told the Wall Street Journal.
So then they are, you know, these people are involved on a level that is a little beyond social. So here we're going to go to Obama's former counsel. All right. So another individual who is now involved. This is another person who says they wish they never met Jeffrey Epstein, another lawyer.
Made a big part in this Wall Street Journal article as well. So let me give you apparently her facilitated that.
Here we go.
Right. I do want to talk to you real quick about President Barack Obama's White House counsel, Catherine Rumler.
This is Catherine Rumler, the former White House counselor for the Obama administration.
Made a big part in this Wall Street Journal article as well. So let me give you apparently her connection to Epstein. So she... Epstein introduced her to potential clients like Bill Gates. back in 2014.
Like
Again,
Bill
this
Gates.
is after Jeffrey Epstein pled guilty in 2008. Epstein called Rumler within weeks of her leaving the Obama administration, planned a lunch with her, and followed by a series of meetings to introduce her to a wider circle of acquaintances. Epstein and his staff, quote, discussed whether Rumler would be uncomfortable with the young women who worked as his assistants and staffers. And then over the next several years, she had more than 36 appointments with Epstein. She was scheduled to fly with Epstein to Paris and then in 2017, he planned to stop in St. Lucia to take her to his island home in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I get no indication she actually made these trips.
All right, so as we continue forward, let's go with their description of this fella.
Relationships and ties to Bill Gates. They had reported back then, essentially, Bill Gates had long disputed any connection to Jeffrey Epstein. And then they splash on the middle of their story. Oh, here's a photo of them together with none other than Jess Staley of JP Morgan. And it was clear that there was the Gates Foundation and JP Morgan were interested in embarking on an initiative. And there was a meeting at Jeffrey Epstein's townhouse about this initiative. And that goes back to the timing of this investigation. Now, it's not said anywhere in the Wall Street Journal story that this has any connection to the fact that there's massive litigation right now in the Southern District of New York.
And the Southern District of New York, remember, that is where the P. Diddy trial is going. That's where Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, all these trials are the federal trials. That's the Southern District of New York. So let's jump over to TMZ real quick and hear what Harvey and Charles have to say, because apparently there is a bit of a to-do. They didn't see this coming, they say. So we're going to get over
Jeffrey
here.
Epstein conspiracy theorists are still just plentiful. Well, yes, they're plentiful, but also they're heated up this week because of the DOJ statement that there's no client list and that you're not going to see who all of his rich and powerful friends were on the island. Well, now Michael Wolff, the author, is speaking out about his final communications with Jeffrey Epstein. And he says that this happened just hours before Epstein killed himself in prison.
So these are some of the last conversations, some of the last words that some of these folks are claiming that they have regarding their communication with Jeffrey Epstein, who was in the Federal Men's Detention Center in Manhattan.
The words that were used is what is very, very interesting and is going to stoke a lot of conversation. This is what he said on the Daily Beast podcast.
I believe that I got the last message from him before he died, and this came through one of his lawyers. And on a Friday evening, he died on Saturday morning, and he died theoretically by hanging himself. And his message to me, hours before this happened, was. And it was just in response to me asking, how he was. And he said, still hanging around.
Do you think that was a coded message?
No, I don't know.
Do you guys think it was a coded message? Could this have been a coded message? Let me know what you think in the chat.
I mean, it is weird because it's not a direct response to the question, how are you?
Right.
Just hanging around.
Still
it
hanging
feels
around.
like it was something a little bit forced, which makes it intentional.
Just hanging around. But come on now. Quit playing with me. All right, we are now going over to PBD. This is really interesting. This is about Kevin Spacey. I mean, we're going to be going around the horn because we do have a lot of people on the thumbnail. We've got a lot of information to get to. But you know what? That's how the internet works, right? Everybody's ready to go full speed. Everybody's had their coffee. So Patrick Bet David, as I said, we're going to go around. We have a couple of interviews coming up with Bill Gates. We have some more on Prince Andrew. We are just going to keep the party rolling. All right.
Piers Morgan. I think
make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Subscribe. And if you want to hit the like, go ahead and boop my nose twice right there on the front glass.
it's kind of, story was going all over the place. I don't know about you guys. I watched a show. What is that one show that he had on Netflix? What was that?
House of Cards?
House of Cards.
Amazing.
And it's the only one.
And now we're talking about Kevin Spacey. Now, we're going to get into Kevin Spacey here, but Kevin Spacey is also going to be involved in the Ghislaine Maxwell episode.
We're on our way. You know the story. We're on our way to go to Tuscany, Italy. A guy named Carl D. Moss, whom I've never met. We're Facebook buddies. And he claims he's a Republican, but he always gives a Democratic argument. We'd always go back and forth. He said, you got to watch House of Cards. And then my dad says, you got to watch House of Cards. And then eventually, I'm like, guys, I don't watch shows. I've never watched shows. We're about to go to Tuscany, Italy. We're taking 50 of our guests to Tuscany, Italy, which was the most epic trip ever for different reasons. Those who were there know what I'm talking about. Tom, you were there. I won't even get into it.
No comment.
That night, I come home, 10 o'clock. I sit there and I watch 12 episodes of season 1 House of Cards on no sleep. Then I get on a plane to go. I was glued to this show. It was ridiculous. Now, here's Kevin Spacey on Piers Morgan. Rob, which clip is this? Is this the one about Clinton's, or is this the one about him having no money?
Bankruptcy and losing his Baltimore home.
I want you to watch this, and I want you to tell me, do you think this is acting, or do you think this is real? Go ahead, Rob. Vinny.
Sorry. Well, it's funny you asked that question, because this week, where I have been living in Baltimore, is being foreclosed on. My house is being sold at auction.
Really?
So I have to go back to Baltimore and put all my things in storage.
Really?
So the answer to that question is, I'm not quite sure where I'm going to live now, but I've been in Baltimore for since we started shooting House of Cards there.
So how long is that?
I moved there in 2012.
So this has been your home for 12 years?
Well, not this particular place, but this place has been my home, and Evan and Lucy's home.
So now we are talking about Kevin Spacey on the Piers Morgan show. That's all I was saying. Just pretty obvious. He is talking about him having to move out of his home. I'm going to show you some more about Kevin Spacey, but we are going to talk about Kevin Spacey more in the Ghislaine episode that's coming up on Monday. Thank you.
Since 2016.
Why is it being foreclosed?
Because I can't pay the bills that I owe.
Watch this.
Are you facing bankruptcy?
Been a couple of times when I thought I was going to file, but we've managed to sort of dodge it, at least as of today.
How much money do you have?
None.
Really?
Well, I mean, you have some sense of legal bills.
He's
Yeah.
a fucking actor.
I still owe a lot of legal bills that
You're
I have not been able to pay.
You're actually in debt.
Yes.
Do you mind me asking how much you owe?
In the millions.
It's considerable.
Millions?
Many millions, yes. The house itself is many millions.
What are you going to do?
Get back on the horse.
You can pause it right there.
Get back on the horse.
Okay, so let me ask you, Tom, do you believe him, or is that an act?
What do you guys think? Do you believe him, or is that an act? Put it in the chat. Do you believe him, or is it an act? Put it in the chat. Kevin Spacey. Okay? And now what we're going to do is we're going to just touch on Les Wexner here. Les Wexner was the reported financier for Jeffrey Epstein, owner of L Brands, which owned what? Victoria's Secret. How convenient. Let's watch some Forbes talks here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Joining me now is my Forbes colleague, Jemima McAvoy. Jemima, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, I want to extend a
Her name is Jemima. I'm sorry.
big congratulations.
That's unique.
You just dropped an explosive investigative piece today on billionaire Les Wexner's second act.
As the reason why he was able to accumulate like this massive portfolio of properties. He was Epstein's main client. Epstein was Les Wexner's money manager for about 2 decades before Les says he cut off contact in 2007. So in the years after Epstein's death, there's been a number of reports about how Epstein used Les Wexner for access to women through Victoria's Secret and money as his client.
Hit that like button and subscribe, guys. Subscribe to the channel. We got much more of the Epstein coverage coming up.
Also, in the past few years, Les Wexner has been implicated, or he's been accused by some of Epstein's accusers of being either party to or involved in some of the alleged sex trafficking scheme. So in January, there was documents unsealed from a few years ago in which prominent Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre said that it was a deposition from her saying that she had been trafficked to Wexner on multiple occasions.
So this is, Virginia Giuffre, the late Virginia Giuffre, who just passed away recently. This is Les Wexner, same thing. Les Wexner, say that 100 times fast. Les Wexner, the owner of L Brands and the financier for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, we're going to touch on him because we're also going to do an entire episode about Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein. So right here, we do have another piece. We got some more of Ghislaine right here. So you could just sort of hear what she has to say, and we're just going to give you a bit of this.
So how does it all look? Is my hair good? It's all good.
Alright, we're rolling. It's so vast that, when you go to the sea, the seashore, you only see that little piece of the seashore. You might see some plastic debris on there, but you don't see much past that. And it's very hard.
And this is from Jay Aubrey, very talented creator.
Hard to connect to something that you don't feel a part of and something that you can't see. If the destructive activity.
And, right over here, we're going to learn about Ghislaine's childhood, right? And her dad. So this is just one of the pieces that we're going to be looking at when we do the entire episode. And here we are going to go over to CNN. Good old, our boy, Cooper, Anderson Coops, Andy Coopers, Andy Koopski. All right, so what we're doing here is we are going to be listening to the interview. And this is the segment regarding Jeffrey Epstein.
Pandemic, but since we last spoke, there's obviously been a lot of reporting about a lot to get to regarding the pandemic. But since we last spoke, there's obviously been a lot of reporting about more personal topics, and they may impact the foundation. So I want to just ask you a couple of questions about that. And I know you feel some things have been misreported, so I'll just start there. Obviously, in May, you and your wife, Melinda, announced you were ending your marriage after 27 years. On Monday, this week, the divorce was finalized. Just on a personal level, how are you doing?
It's definitely a very sad milestone. Melinda's a great person, and that partnership that we had coming to an end is a source of great personal sadness. We are communicating and working at the foundation, and so that partnership we're going to try and continue.
The foundation said that there's going to be like a 2-year trial period to see that if you two can continue to work together. That's your hope, that you can.
Well, yeah, the Melinda has incredible strengths that she brings that help the foundation be better. We always enjoyed our work together. Two of us can go out and work with leaders and help build the organization. So, that would be definitely the best thing for the foundation.
There's a couple of things of reporting that have been out there I want to ask you about, and I think it's no one's business what happens in a person's marriage. The New York Times and Wall Street Journal both reported in recent months that Melinda was concerned about a relationship you had with Jeffrey Epstein, who at the time you met him in 2011 had been already convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor. The Times reported she hired divorce attorneys around the time in October 2019 when that contact with Epstein became public. Can you explain your relationship with Epstein? Did you have any concerns? Was there ever any concerns you had about it?
Oh, certainly. You know, I had several dinners with him, you know, hoping that what he said about getting billions of philanthropy for global health through contacts that he had might emerge. You know, when it looked like that wasn't a real thing, that relationship ended. But it was a huge mistake to spend time with him, to give him the credibility of, you know, being there. There were lots of others in that same situation, but I made a mistake.
There's been reporting about workplace behavior in the past. The New York Times reported 6 women from Microsoft, the company you created, your foundation, and the financial firm that manages your fortune said that your behavior at times created an uncomfortable workplace environment. I know a spokeswoman for you acknowledged you had an affair 20 years ago with a Microsoft employee that she said ended amicably. Do you have regrets?
Well, certainly I think...
Yeah, you better start with one named Jeffrey.
Everyone does, but you know, it's a time of reflection, and you know, at this point, I need to go forward. You know, my work is very important to me. You know, within the family, we'll heal as best we can and learn from what's happened.
Well, just on a personal level, I'm sorry for what you and your family are going through.
Oh, stop it. Okay, here we go.
Bill Gates co-founded Microsoft nearly 50 years ago at the forefront of the computer age that changed the world. And since then, he's been using the fortune that earned him to change the world. The Gates Foundation giving away tens of billions of dollars over the past decade. He also famously predicted the world was unprepared for a pandemic in a 2015 TED Talk that was unfortunately accurate and has been viewed now 43 million times. Well, he's sounding the alarm again this morning. His
And
new
here we
book,
have, this is his interview on the Today Show, but it is, you know, let's see, where is it? Which one? Here it is.
I certainly made a huge mistake, not only meeting him in the first place, but I met with him a number of times. I had a goal of raising money for global health. I didn't realize that, you know, meeting with him almost downplayed the incredibly awful things he did. You know, I learned more about that over time, but you know, I'd add that to the list of big mistakes, including, you know, where Melinda's advice was sound, and I should have followed it sooner than I did.
And you never saw anything where you thought, this doesn't feel right. Linda kind of had a visceral reaction the first time she met him.
No, he was a bad person. And, you know, I had a reason that I thought those meetings would lead to something good, but I shouldn't have done them.
And finally, on this topic, you recently gave an interview. You said you'd marry Melinda all over again. She says you guys are friendly.
He laughed.
Not necessarily friends, but friendly. How do you see the relationship moving forward?
Well, one of the things we built.
So, I mean, that's, you know, that interview. We got another one right here. I mean, this just kept going on and on. This, you know, here's the report where they're saying Jeffrey Epstein threatened to expose Bill Gates. This is some blackmail. Maybe, you know, this is the kind of talk that this is the kind of blackmail that has been alleged right here. Bill Gates, who better?
Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates is one of the richest people in the world and reportedly met multiple times with sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, eventually being targeted by Epstein in a blackmail scheme. According to the Wall Street Journal, Gates met a bridge player in her 20s around 2010. Epstein met her a few years later when she was looking for funding for a startup. He didn't give her the money, but pay for her to go to school to learn coding. The blackmail came into play when, reportedly in 2017, Epstein emailed Gates asking him to reimburse him for the cost of the woman's course, an email that reportedly sounded like an implicit threat to reveal the affair. Epstein had been trying for several years to start a charitable foundation at J.P. Morgan Bank, with Gates and other wealthy people putting in $100 million each, according to the report. Epstein stood to gain millions in fees, but Gates never got on board with the plan. A spokesperson told the Journal Gates did not pay Epstein back for the course, and he did not have any financial dealings with the convicted sex offender, and emphasized Gates said it was a mistake to have ever met him. Bill Gates is just the latest billionaire or huge.
Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. Now, when we get to the Epstein death, we're going to look in a second at some senators questioning some people about the Epstein death. But first, before we go to that, we were talking about Kevin Spacey. And if you want to see something creepy with Kevin Spacey, well, just let's watch Let Me Be Frank. He is not on a set. He is at his house.
I know what you want. Oh, sure, they may have tried to separate us, but what we have is too strong. It's too powerful. I mean, after all, we shared everything, you and I. I told you my deepest, darkest secrets. I showed you exactly what people are capable of. I shocked you with my honesty, but mostly I challenged you and made you think. And you trusted me, even though you knew you shouldn't. So we're not done, no matter what anyone says. And besides, I know what you want. You want me back. Of course, some believed everything and had just been waiting with bated breath to hear me confess it all. They're just dying to have me declare that everything said is true and that I got what I deserved. Wouldn't that be easy if it was all so simple? Only you and I both know it's never that simple, not in politics and not in life. But you wouldn't believe the worst without evidence, would you? You wouldn't rush to judgments without facts, would you?
Could you?
Did you?
Did you?
No, not you. You're smarter than that. Anyway, all this presumption made for such an unsatisfying ending. And to think it could have been such a memorable send-off. I mean, if you and I have learned nothing else these past years, it's that in life and art, nothing should be off the table. We weren't afraid, not of what we said and not of what we did, and we're still not afraid.
So you get a little bit of a sense of what is going on with Kevin Spacey right there. A little bit of that was during his convictions, and we are going to talk about a lot of the alleged crimes surrounding his involvements with other allegations with Ghislaine. And for right now, we're going to get to the senators questioning about Epstein's death.
My opening statement, I wanted to talk about the death of Mr. Epstein. Do you concur with the opinion that it was a suicide?
That was the finding of the coroner, sir.
Okay. Do you have any evidence suggest otherwise?
I do not.
How could this have happened?
Unfortunately, sir, the death and the whole situation is still under the investigation of the FBI and the Inspector General's office, and I'm really not at liberty to discuss specifics of this case. I can discuss issues around institutional operations, but I can't specifically talk about that particular issue.
Okay. With a case this high profile, there's got to be either major malfunction of the system or a criminal enterprise at foot to allow this to happen.
At foot? You mean afoot? You okay, Senator?
So are you looking at both? Is the FBI looking at both?
If the FBI is involved, then they are looking at criminal enterprise, yes.
Do we have people in custody today of this high-profile nature? Have we done anything to adjust since Mr. Epstein's death?
Sir, we take every inmate's life very seriously in the Bureau of Prisons. A high-profile inmate is no more important or significant in terms of our operations than just the average inmate that comes our
When
way.
I mean high profile, somebody's on a suicide watch.
I would like to explain our suicide watch system, if I may. I can't talk specifically about Epstein, but we have different tiers of response if we identify an inmate who appears to be having suicidal thinking. And I came into the Bureau as a psychologist. I worked with lots of suicidal inmates.
Oh.
I was warden in our psychiatric
That said, this is the Senate questioning about the Epstein death.
facility in Butner, and I know how difficult it is to always be able to predict who is suicidal and who is not. But once an inmate is identified as
This
potentially
is
suicidal,
Dr. Kathleen Sawyer, who was one of the individuals signing the death certificate, no doubt.
we have a suicide watch operation that we can place them in. It's a very stark, very difficult setting where everything is stripped from the room except a mattress. They get a coarse gown-like to wear that cannot be twisted in any way that they could hang themselves from it. They have one mattress and one blanket, and they are watched constantly. There's nothing else in that room.
Was Mr. Epstein on suicide watch?
Yes, he was. However, the average time on suicide watch is only about 24 hours because it is such a stark and actually depressing situation. We then can move them to another tier of observation, which is called psychological observation.
Did that happen in this case?
I can't speak specifically, but I am sharing this with you so that you understand our procedure, sir. They then can move to another tier, which is psychological observation, where they get their clothes back.
Okay, so now they're just explaining the entire process of what happens when an individual in the federal men's detention facility in Manhattan, this is the SOP, the standard operating procedure of how they would handle someone like Epstein if he was suicidal.
They're in a more normalized setting. They are watched and scrutinized every moment of the day, but that is a much more normal environment.
Do they have roommates?
I'm sorry, sir?
Do they have roommates?
No, they do not when they're on psychological observation because they're being watched continuously.
Did Mr. Epstein have a roommate when he allegedly committed suicide?
No, he did not.
Okay. But
they move into psychological observation. Psychologists see them routinely, interview them repeatedly, and once it's determined that the threat of suicide seems to have passed, then that inmate can be returned back to open population.
Okay.
Well, clearly it didn't work here, so we await the report because all the victims.
Well, the cameras are always broken, so the cameras are broken a lot. Thank you.
Epstein have to have their heart ripped out, else they'll never see justice.
Dr. Sawyer, can you think of any other incidents in the history of the BOP that have caused as much crisis for public trust for your institution as Epstein's death?
I can only speak for since 1976 when I joined the Bureau. I don't know prior to that, but I would say it's probably gotten the most public attention.
There are lots of taxpayers and citizens who've never thought about the BOP, and you have lots of good, patriotic, hardworking folks there. I get that. But in terms of a crisis of public trust in general, but also in terms of your workforce, this death happened in the middle of August, early August.
Well, not just in the middle of August. It happened in one of the most secure, allegedly, what's supposed to be one of the most secure tier in the country. This is supposed to be the most secure facility, a federal facility with an inmate like Epstein. This is again, this is the Senate review and questioning of the doctors of Epstein, his last doctors, so to speak.
It's Thanksgiving, and you're here to testify today, and you say you're not allowed to speak about this incident. I think that's crazy.
Yes,
can you distinguish among types of investigations, at least for us? Because I'm aware of at least 3 Epstein investigations. You got a whole bunch of women who were raped by this guy. This is a sex trafficking ring in the United States. This guy had evidence. He's got co-conspirators, and there are victims out there who want to know where the evidence has gone. Can you tell us a little bit more about the different investigations? I understand there's at least one that you're directed by Main Justice not to speak about, but there are at least 3 investigations. Can you unpack them, please?
There are 2 investigations that are ongoing. One is the FBI's investigation, and the other is the Inspector General's investigation.
Both inside BOP, but there's a third one outside, which is why Epstein was in your institution to begin with.
Yeah, and that, sir, is completely out of my
I get that. There's a lot here where DOJ has failed. There's a lot here that BOP has failed. Let's just be clear. So we have level set for everybody in this room, you're in your job because of this crisis, right? You come here today and you say you can't testify about it, but the reason you're director now is because the last guy got fired, right?
Hit the like button, everybody, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit subscribe. We have a lot more coming up about the Epstein matter. We are nowhere near done, so jump on board with us. We're so glad that you're here. Thank you so much.
I can't tell you what I don't know. I have received no information from the FBI investigation yet, nor no information from the Inspector General. Once those entities go into one of our facilities, we are forbidden from talking to anybody in the institution. We can send in a team and look at wherever there might have been a security flaw or something, but we are not allowed to talk to anybody in our institutions about anything that happened over the Epstein.
With all due respect, you still have an obligation to speak to the girls who were raped by this guy today. You may not have to speak about every particular of the guards that were arrested last night, but the fact that there is an ongoing attempt by the United States government to find out if there's still any evidence about the co-conspirators, you do have an obligation to speak to those girls who were raped today.
Well, I mean, they could not possibly, and all the powers that be that run such high-level financial institutions, entertainment, politics, industry, I mean, they couldn't let him get on a witness stand. Come on.
You may not speak about the specifics of the charges against those two guards this morning who were taken into custody, but more broadly, you should be able to unpack. Have we changed any processes about how cases like this are handled? It's been more than 90 days,
Yes,
and you said, I think your quote was, we treat every inmate the same. We believe in America that every individual has equal dignity, but not every inmate has equal value for future criminal investigations.
Right. Just as an asset, his security, there's, you know, this is just ridiculous.
Jeffrey Epstein was still to testify in a case. Somebody who's already been convicted, who may be on suicide watch, there are lots of good reasons to not want that guy to be able to kill himself. This is different because it isn't just about the individual inmate who might kill themselves. It's
absolutely.
It's about the fact that that bastard wasn't able to testify against his other co-conspirators. So it is wrong as a management matter for you to say we treat everybody the same. We should be treating people who are yet to testify against other felons, against other rapists. They have a lot more priority for your institution, don't they?
Senator, pretty much all of our inmates that are in any of our jail facilities are pretrial. They're still yet to testify, to be involved, to share information on other cases. I don't know what evidence you're asking of me. If you're saying, was there any evidence in his room, in his possession at the time?
No,
that was all confiscated by the FBI.
In his brain and in the cameras and in the tapes that the American public well understands appear to not be urgent enough for the Department of Justice.
No, it's very urgent for the Department of Justice, and it's all been confiscated by the FBI, and it's all part of their investigation. That's why none of that is shared with the Director of the Bureau of Prisons or anyone in the Bureau until the investigations are completed.
The Bureau of Prisons, as we have learned, you barely have to have an IQ of an ice cube to get this job.
Once those are completed, I'd be very happy to come up here and talk with any one of you that want to hear everything about we glean from those investigations.
You know,
but until I have that information, there's nothing I can tell you. If I don't have the information, I cannot share anything with you.
Then how widespread is the problem of sleeping on the job? There are lots of people in the public who think this seems a very convenient excuse. And so tell us, is it a systemic problem? Do we have
It was a blow dart nap.
a lot of people who sleep on the job when they're supposed to be guarding federal inmates?
We have a few, sir, and we have been monitoring the cameras that are existing in every one of our institutions to determine how well and how effectively our inmates are, our staff members are doing their rounds and counts in the institutions. We have found a couple of other instances, and we have immediately referred those to the Inspector General's office, and I'm encouraging that if people just chose not to do their job, we're hoping the U.S. Attorney's Office will pick up those cases and prosecute them for us, because we don't want those people in the Bureau of Prisons. They are dangerous to everybody, the inmates and the staff. And so we are zealously going about trying to determine which of our employees are good employees and who do their job, and that is the vast majority of the prison staff. But we do have some, I know, out there who obviously choose not to follow policy, choose not to do their job, and we want them gone. I do not want them in our institutions, and I am exploring those very, very carefully to identify them and get them out of our system. Now, if it's a training problem and they didn't know what they were supposed to do, that's our problem. That's management's problem. We have to do a better job training our staff. But if someone is well-trained, well-experienced, and chooses not to do their job, we want them gone. I assure you of that.
I'm at time, so I'll just give you a preview of something I'm going to ask you for the record after the event. You made a really important statement about drone drops of different kinds of contraband into your institutions. That's obviously a new and hard problem. That's a problem against which we have to play.
Drone drops. Drone drops keep falling on my head. All right, here we go. We're going to jump over to a little bit of Prince Andrew fumfering through this BBC interview of old Prince Andrew. All right. Not about partying. Okay, what was it about, Andrew? Why don't you tell us what it was about, Andrew?
Said you weren't very good friends.
Let us know, Andy, Prince, party Prince boy.
You describe him as a good friend. Did you trust him?
Thank you very much. Make sure you're subscribed, April. All right. I'll always see if someone tells me I'm good looking in the chat. That'll catch my eye anytime. Welcome back. The next time, I'll say it ahead of time now for when you come back to the next one. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, after this, the Queen Mother gave him a bit of a discipline, and I think he's got all his stuff back now. I don't know. Hey, hit the like button and subscribe, guys. Just hit the subscribe. I'm almost at 10K subs and would love to have that happen during this live stream. You guys can make it happen. And then what we're going to do is a 10K sub celebration sometime in the next couple days right here on YouTube. So I hope you will get her done.
Birthday party for Epstein's girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, at Sandringham.
Okay, I just want to say, Andrew, does this look familiar? Is that you and her? That looks like you and her. Is this you and her? Is this you and her? Is that you and her? Okay, just checking. Be sure that he was home on the 10th of March. Now, getting into some of the other people in this black book, I mean, we really gone around the horn here on all these folks in this black book, right? Well, there's more. And one of them is Ehud Barak, Prime Minister, former Prime Minister of Israel. So let's just have a listen.
Was friends with them. Photos of him going. He was there. Look, this is a good one. Including 2014 private flight in Florida after he had been charged and convicted and found guilty and done prison time for child sexual abuse.
Well, you can't tell me that Israeli security didn't know about that. You know, I mean, let's just say he didn't have nothing to do with nothing. Israeli security would know about that. Someone around Ehud Barak. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
this is a clear. There's a clear line right there. And
read it
like
and weep.
said,
Yeah.
Are we supposed to deny what our eyes and ears tell us? And absolutely not. And I want to follow up on something else, Vinny. It's not anti-Semitic to talk about this.
His convenient is, I don't recall.
And it's not anti-Semitic to question any foreign country's government, secular government, including Israel. And I think that's the right thing for people to do, is to always question any foreign government's motives, especially when they come to our country constantly demanding money and demanding help and support. Unfortunately, I don't see enough of the American people in the halls of Congress demanding help and demanding support and demanding funding. But I do happen to see a lot of foreign countries' leaders and diplomats or the powerful people that they have information on.
this is what I can't figure out. Perhaps you could square this hole for me. Why protect a dead pedophile? What's the deal here? He has no rights. He's a dead pedophile.
This is the $100,000 question.
So why burn credibility on this one, MTG?
The only reason to do that is because you're protecting the powerful people that are still alive. It's not about the dead pedophile. It's about the powerful people and governments that are still alive. And again, I don't agree with it. You know, I love President Trump and I absolutely love his administration, but I'm also my own person and I can disagree with things.
Absolutely. So let's jump on over to something else that I saw here that I wanted to share with you. This is Ghislaine Maxwell's brother. All right. This is Ghislaine Maxwell's brother. Now, this is from just a couple of days ago. So this is a very interesting, unique piece from something called The Spectator. All right. So we're going to do a review and reaction to this. All right. Here we go.
Hello and welcome back to the Americano Show. Today we are going to be talking about Jeffrey Epstein because on Sunday night, the FBI and the Department of Justice, that's Donald Trump's FBI and his Department of Justice, released statements saying that in fact...
Let's cut right to it.
And did in fact kill himself as far as the evidence is concerned.
I don't think there was anything that was too surprising dealing with the three central pieces of information. One, that there was no client list.
This is Ghislaine Maxwell's brother.
My sister has always maintained that there never was such a thing. It never existed.
So he is denying any client list, anything of the kind.
Existed. And
do you believe him?
One of the accusers, early attorneys, a man called Brad Edwards, in a book that he published. Perhaps
Brad Edwards, who represented several of the alleged Epstein victims. I do not know. A lot of those court records are sealed.
5 or 6 years ago, also came to the same conclusion. In other words, that Epstein was in this for himself and his own bizarre sexual predilections. And the reason that this has become such a hot button issue is because following the arrest of Epstein in 2019 and also a number of scurrilous allegations made by a lady called Virginia Giuffre that she had been trafficked to presidents and highfalutin people up and down, that just set off a wild goose chase, which has been echoed and re-echoed in social media and given tremendous currency by people like Elon Musk. And it's just got a life of its own and taken up as a huge conspiracy item.
Well, you know, people can say a lot about conspiracies if they like, but I mean, there's this. You know, everybody remembers old Bill. Old Slick Willie. Getting that rubby rub, getting that rub down. Getting them shoulders rubbed just from the post. You remember these pictures. And then you start to get into the people who are around them. Jeffrey Epstein's former pilot testifies Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Prince Andrew flew aboard Epstein's private plane. Okay. And so that's Larry Vizosky. There's another pilot that we are going to get into and tell you about. But back to Ghislaine's brother, because he's a very interesting fellow.
That's what's happened.
Everybody
of course,
goes subscribe to Spectator TV.
Going to be disappointed because if you prick a conspiracy, the balloon goes down. A lot of people wonder why they've been fooled or how, and is this yet another deep state story? My sister has never thought there was any such thing. There wasn't such a thing, so there were no surprises there. That's as far as the client list is concerned. Second item was that the DOJ and the FBI have concurred absolutely that Epstein killed himself. There, I think there is more substance to different and opposing views, notably that he, in fact, was murdered. That is and remains my sister's view, for what it's worth, and a lot of other people, not least the Epstein's own family, commissioned an autopsy by a really serious pathologist to look into the injuries sustained by Epstein, which he considers entirely consistent with strangulation and not hanging. So I think the jury's out on that. Well, anyway, the DOJ and FBI have concluded that that is what's happened. And they further say that there is this raft of a trove of digital information, 300 gigabytes of it, from which they've concluded that there is no evidence of further third-party criminal activity that they can glean from it. And therefore, they've reached the conclusion that's the end of the road. It's finished, which, for what it's worth, does, I think, certainly the president would be pleased that they've concluded that, and probably other people as well.
Probably other people as well. I would think so. I would think so. This is something we hit up Grok earlier. Did former CIA director actually meet with Jeffrey Epstein? And now we're talking about government assets, right? Control points. Yes, William J. Burns, who later became CIA director, met with Jeffrey Epstein multiple times in 2014 when Burns was Deputy Secretary of State, according to Epstein's private calendar as obtained by the Wall Street Journal. So these are CIA. I mean, it just it goes so deep into politics and into all aspects of our society today. We're controlled by, internet and media, and these are the controllers. Finance. Here we go. This is from News Nation about some files reportedly destroyed.
Republican congressman predicted back in February that we'd never learn the truth about what really happened to the disgraced pedophile.
What are we going to learn? Just today, the FBI found 1,400 new files. Now, I don't know. They're as crooked as a dog's leg, as we say in East Tennessee. I don't trust any of them. I don't think we're going to get, I don't know. No, just no.
Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, member of the House Oversight Accountability Committee, joins us now. The confident smile of a man who can say, "I told you so," is what I see on your face, sir.
I don't take any pleasure in it. I want to bury those dirt bags, but I'm afraid I was right. I've seen too much of it. And every time they're supposed to release something, they never do, whether it be UFOs, JFK, RFK. It's the nature of the beast up here.
Who are the dirtbags?
I think your second, third level tier people that are in a lot of these departments that we never get to. You have staffers and things like that on the Capitol Hill that leak things, that stop important pieces of legislation. And I just feel like you've got to, I guess I'll write about it in my book if I live to tell that day. But I think the files existed at one time. I think they were destroyed in the previous.
So there are claims here that more files are being found, that files have been destroyed. Crooked as a dog's leg.
Administration, and I think if they'd ever had anything on Trump, it would have been out day one.
Agreed.
Under the Biden administration. And I don't. I think there's some very prominent people. There's Hollywood people, but I think there's world leaders too. And would it have caused economic disruption around the globe? Maybe, but I don't really care. I want to.
You think there's a theory? Is there a theory, perhaps, that none of the, or not none, but maybe some of the people on the list didn't do anything wrong, and this would be a terrible guilt by association to put their names out, just to put every.
Hit the subscribe, guys. We are creeping up on 10,000 subscribers. So go ahead and hit subscribe and the like button.
Everybody's name out. No one's been charged with a crime. Put all these people's names out, and suddenly, because they had an interaction with Epstein that was completely benign, they're labeled as one of his buddies.
What's Miss Maxwell doing in jail? What did she do? Where is that? Who did she provide whatever she did? Why is she in jail? That's got to be a question that should be we're we're not going to get that. Dead men tell no tales. He's dead. And
well, I just want to be clear what you're saying. Are you saying the previous administration destroyed everything, or are you saying that the Trump administration is basically doing the same thing as the previous administration?
No, I think they destroyed everything. I think.
So why wouldn't Pam Bondi say that?
She doesn't have any proof of it. I'm just telling you what I think. I mean, I've been around this town enough. I don't think I think she's got over her skis pretty much, saying all this stuff. The files are on my desk. I'm going to release it, and then she releases stuff that I knew. So I just don't think. I think they all got out there, got a little excited, and I don't think they exist. And that's my currently. I think they did it. I think they did it one time. I mean, you got an administration that lied about it, said Hunter Biden didn't, his laptop, that didn't exist. That's Russian. You had 30 of the top
I get all that.
Intelligence people in the country say that, and they didn't get chastised by anybody but y'all and a couple others.
No, look, we chastise everybody equally. It's why we appreciate you being willing to cut. Yeah, you know that better than most. But I want to play for you Bill O'Reilly on how he sees it. Take a listen.
Okay.
I talked to President Trump man to man, eye to eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed.
So his theory is kind of the same as what I just put out. The flip side of that is that he also said that this is going to hurt Trump because Trump promised this, Pam Bondi promised this. They made a big deal about it in the campaign.
Make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
There's nothing
Hit
to
that
see.
subscribe, guys. It's free. We're getting close to 10K subs. It was my birthday last week. I would love to have 10K subs today. Today. Let's make it happen. Let's have a listen over here.
What the Trump administration did this week. Now we're getting dribs and drabs. And by the way, I said about 18 months ago on this show that people would be hearing from Jeffrey Epstein. And then I made clear he's not alive. I was never suggesting that. But I knew of tapes of Jeffrey Epstein that would get released. And let's just say I stand by my story. I mean it still 100%. Just stand by, okay? By the way, some already were released right before the election that were largely ignored because it was right before the election. But they're not done. There will be more. And you can trust me.
Hit the like and subscribe if you would like me to show you Jeffrey Epstein actually talking. So I got about almost 10 minutes of Jeffrey Epstein talking. I know a lot of you haven't seen this before. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll run that in just a second here.
I don't say things I can't back up, okay? So that's happening. In any event, back to the actual substance. There's a clip of Alan Dershowitz that's gone totally viral. It was from an interview he gave Sean Spicer back in March. I'm going to play it for you. I'm going to update it for you, and then we're going to talk about what, if anything, it all means for what we're supposed to believe.
And we're almost at 300 likes, so let's get that. Get it. I'd love that.
The FBI's files. Here it is.
So let me tell you, I know.
Now, this is very unique because this is a recent clip of Alan Dershowitz. Another one in the phone book, but an attorney who is claiming some kind of agreement that he can't, spill the beans.
For a fact, documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them. And
remember, they were saying that this is alleged from Nick Bryant, who was on the Sean Ryan show, who said that Damian Williams has something to do with that,
Wrong.
Just out of curiosity. The lead prosecutor for the feds in the Southern District of New York.
Without names,
Are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed.
Very interesting. Everyone, that's sort of a Rorschach test for how you feel about this case, because people who believe the FBI is withholding names of like a pedophile ring focus on the first half, and people who don't focus on the second half. We know Alan very well. We covered very, very closely Virginia Giuffre's accusations against him.
Well, you know, that is what I do. I bring everybody together to see what we can come up with. Because I believe politics is all, you know, I'm one of those two wings of the same bird kind of guys, okay? So let us move on. Because are we at 300 likes yet? Are we at 300 likes yet? Let me check. Let me set this frame up first, because that is more important for it to look good as we move on. Oh, yeah, we're at 300 likes. Well, you know what we're going to do then. Since we are I am a man of my word. All right? So what we're going to do is we are going to go right to, oh boy, here it is. Jeffrey Epstein in the flesh, man. Right? Well, he's a scary looking man, isn't he? Let me pull the frame up a little bit. Wow. Scary. Scary looking dude. Now, this is from a deposition. So check this out. Thank you so much for getting us over 300 likes, guys. I really appreciate it. Now, here we go.
Would you raise your hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am. Would you please state your full name?
I'm Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and my residence address is 6100 Red Hook Boulevard in Virgin Islands.
Do you maintain any other residences presently?
I have vacation homes in New Mexico, Palm Beach, New York, and Paris.
I have a lot more great footage that a lot of you probably haven't seen, so make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We are getting close, baby.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes.
What was the crime of which you were convicted?
Two counts. One, soliciting prostitution, and procuring a minor for prostitution.
Did you in fact commit those acts?
I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
How many times have you solicited a minor for prostitution?
Fifth Amendment.
Same answer.
How many times have you solicited a minor for prostitution in the state of Florida?
Same answer.
Have you ever solicited a minor for prostitution in the Virgin Islands?
Same answer.
That is, you are invoking your Fifth Amendment
yes,
right?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
He invoked his Fifth Amendment right about the Virgin Islands.
Have you ever solicited for prostitution in New York?
Same answer.
Have you?
So he is running down the Fifth Amendment option.
Ever solicited for prostitution in New Mexico?
Same answer.
Have you ever solicited for prostitution in Paris?
Same answer.
Have you ever solicited a minor for prostitution anywhere at any time?
Again, I'm going to assert my right.
So what he's doing now is he is asserting his Fifth Amendment right to not incriminate himself in other matters. So that is basically what is happening there.
Did you ever? We're going to go off the record. So you are terminating the deposition at this time?
The recess of the deposition.
What college did you attend?
Cooper Union.
And did you get a degree from Cooper Union?
No, sir.
How many years were you in college?
I believe 2.
What'd you study?
Physics.
Well, isn't it true that you were a teacher at the Dalton School in New York after college? It's just unheard of. It's just an unbelievable scheme to have kept going for that long of a period of time. Do you consider yourself to be bisexual?
No.
Okay. In any event, you did develop a sexual relationship with Leslie Wexner at some point in time. Is that true?
No.
Mr. Epstein, how long have you been sexually attracted to underage minor females?
Objection, harassing, argumentative. Are you kidding?
I mean, I don't feel like I'm divulging any secrets here, right?
Move to strike.
Mr. Epstein, were you sexually abused as a minor?
Again?
Were you sexually abused as a minor?
You know, I'd like to respond to all your, if any, questions seem to be relevant, but I would like to respond to any relevant question at this time. However, my attorneys have counseled me that I cannot provide answers to the questions relevant to this lawsuit today. I must accept their advice or risk losing my Sixth Amendment right to effective representation. Accordingly, then, I assert my Fifth, Sixth, and 14th Amendment right to the United States Constitution.
Wow. So he was saying his 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights to the Constitution.
Would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Is it true, sir, that you have what's been described as an egg-shaped penis? I had hired
Jesus.
psychologist to do a psychological profile on Jeffrey Epstein, what type of person he was, and what would actually get under his skin. What made him tick was that he was a narcissist. He had no ability to feel empathy and saw himself as the master of puppets, so to speak. Sir, one witness described your penis as oval-shaped and claimed when erect it was thick towards the bottom but was thin and small towards the head portion and called it egg-shaped. Those are not my words, I apologize. But as Mr. Critton has stated, that this is a... I'm willing to continue. I hate to call him back.
Let me go on the record.
He tries at all times to be the master of his domain and in control of his world. As soon as he feels he's out of control, it's unsettling to him.
Complaint filed by Virginia Roberts against you. Isn't it true, sir, that a friend of yours sent you 3 12-year-old females for you to sexually abuse on one of your birthdays?
Form argumentative, harassing, and irrelevant to this lawsuit. But you're saying it's part of the lawsuit?
Yeah, I'll read it directly.
It was Jeffrey's birthday one.
On one of defendant Epstein's birthdays, a friend of defendant Epstein sent him 3 12-year-old girls from France who spoke no English for defendant to sexually exploit and abuse. After doing so, they were sent back to France the next day. Isn't that true?
Once again, I'm going to move to strike. Irrelevant, argumentative, harassing. I would like to answer that question. I really would. However, today, my attorneys have told me I have to assert my Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, and 14th Amendment rights of the U.S. Constitution.
You're invoking your Fifth Amendment rights to each of these questions because you know that your answers will incriminate you and you feel that it will result in you being prosecuted for these crimes. Isn't that right?
Objection, argumentative, harassing, and calls for a legal conclusion. No, in fact, the Supreme Court recently said that the Fifth Amendment right is there to protect the innocent. So that's the way I'd like to answer that.
Are you released from jail at some time? Do you have to report back to jail on a daily basis?
Yes, I report back to jail at 8 p.m.
Every single day?
Yes, sir.
And is it 7 days a week that you're out on work release?
No, sir.
How many days a week are you out on work release?
6.
And of those 6 days, how many hours per day are you out on work release?
12.
We're back on the video record at 12:02 p.m.
Let's talk about Jane Doe 102, Virginia Roberts. Do you know Virginia Roberts?
So she's, again, who?
Virginia Roberts.
Can you spell it?
Common spelling, Virginia, like the state.
Can you spell it for me, please?
Roberts.
How's it, what's the last name? How's it spelled?
Roberts, I believe. Isn't it true that you and Ghislaine Maxwell celebrated her 16th birthday with her and had sex with her on that day?
Form, compound, confusing, argumentative, and harassing.
I'd like to answer that question. But today, I'm going to have to assert my 6th Amendment rights, my 5th Amendment rights.
Is it true that you forced Virginia Roberts to have sex with numerous friends of yours?
Are you kidding?
Wow. So let's go to another clip that we see over here. This is just a guy by the name of Eric Weinstein. Don't know about. He talks about when he met Epstein.
You met Jeffrey Epstein once.
Yep.
Talk to me about what that's like, coming face to face with somebody of that caliber.
Whatever that means. Well, one thing is that there is a physiological reaction that corresponds to this phrase that, you know, the hair on the back of my neck stood on end. Like, that's a real physiological feeling. I don't know whether the hair actually does that, but it's exactly what it feels like. You're meeting somebody who is unholy. And, you know, one of the most interesting things is that he was beckoning into a world that didn't seem to exist but for him as the doorman. I think that's one of the things that freaked out a lot of these rich people is that he felt rich in a movie sense, which is not something that you find among actually rich people.
What do you mean?
Well, a lot of very wealthy people don't own an island. Islands are really tough to maintain. I'm obsessed with islands, and, you know, in general, I have to be obsessed with islands that have airports run by other people because, you know, they have populations on them. But every rich person starts to wonder, can I afford an island, or how many jets? And if you look at Jeffrey Epstein's wealth, it was like gold beaten into gold foil so that it could cover a vast area and leave the impression of a solid gold life. But it was really probably a mid 9-figure fortune that had been used to buy islands and planes, which is not what any 9-figure person is going to do.
So you had a felt sense, an embodied sense of discomfort?
Oh, hell yeah.
And where did that come from?
The fact that he had a lipstick camera pointed at me from an art object, that he laid a table that was preposterously long and thin with a tablecloth made of an American flag to make it look like a coffin so that I would spill my coffee on the flag of my own country. I mean, the fact that he looked like a mutant Ralph Lauren with this kind of lubricious quality, and he's talking all of the science and market stuff, and nothing adds up, and there's an heiress bouncing on his knee to get her boobs to jiggle to see whether it can distract. I mean, it's like one of these crazy scenes where nothing about it was normal. There was no trace of a normal world.
That sounds like a script from a movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it, John Travolta is like putting a gun to your head and forcing you to drink and break a code in a minute. Yeah, like that part of it. And then there was some sort of like, remember that story, The Most Dangerous Game, where a man invites you to his island so he can hunt you. This was scary, and it was meant to be scary.
Sounds menacing.
Well, I think his product.
So this is, you'll see down here, Eric Weinstein telling his story of meeting Jeffrey Epstein and just getting just a horrible feeling about it.
Product was silence. People think that his product was sex or finance, but it was silence. I'm pretty sure.
No.
What does that mean?
That his product was not sex, it was silence. That's very well put.
If you're scary enough, look, rich people can get sex.
Hit subscribe,
but they can't necessarily
guys.
get people to shut up afterwards. So my take
we
on
are almost at 10K subs. So if y'all just get together and hit that subscribe button and get us to that 10K subs, we are going to do some great things for you. Thank you very much.
On it, my take on it instantly was, this is not an actual human. This is a construct of someone's. Someone has created a fake human being called Jeffrey Epstein, who's a mysterious currency trading financier with crazy rules so that no one would ever invest with him. And I think that was to keep people from seeking his investment services.
Right.
I mean, he's labeled.
What was said earlier by, Nick Bryant and some of the other people is that he was an expert in money laundering. That was Jeffrey Epstein's thing. So a lot of these meetings could have been about the money, right? Not about the minors.
Disgraced financier.
And also just some pimp services that he would probably provide just to, get them to sign on the line that is dotted and then be able to put them in a compromising position in some sort of video to be able to keep them as a client.
But nobody has a record of trading with him. He was sitting there, he comes into the meeting and he says, well, Eric, I was just doing some currency trading. And I thought about that scene that you sometimes see and as a meme with Steve Buscemi with a skateboard over his shoulder.
Hello, fellow kids, teenagers. Hello, fellow financial traders.
Exactly. So I'm thinking, you don't really look like a rich guy who.
So let's jump over. We're gonna change gears here a little bit. We are staying on the Epstein story, but there are a lot of people in his little black book. One of them was a guy by the name of Jean-Luc Brunel. All right, so we are going to talk about Jean-Luc Brunel, who died in a French prison cell the exact same way that Jeffrey Epstein did. So let us listen and learn who is Jean-Luc Brunel. I'm going to show you guys a lot of things that you haven't heard about before. I know some of you have heard it, but most of you haven't. So let's go.
All right, let's get to some breaking news out of France, everybody. The Paris prosecutor's office has confirmed to NBC News that a former modeling agent linked to Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his prison cell this morning. The office says that it appeared Jean-Luc Brunel, quote, died by suicide because he was discovered dead from hanging himself with his sheets. NBC's Raf Sanchez is joining us. This is astounding to hear, Raf.
Jeffrey Epstein's partner apparently hung himself with some sheets. Did you know that?
This breaking news,
in
especially
France,
considering the fact that he died exactly the same way Jeffrey Epstein did.
That's not weird.
As well, and also that he wasn't necessarily on suicide watch facing these charges. Talk to us about what more we know and his association with Epstein.
Yasmin, these parallels are so striking. Here's what we know. French authorities say Brunel was found in his prison cell at 1:30.
There you go. There's Brunel and Jeffrey on the Lolita Express.
a.m. this morning in a prison in the south of Paris. He was being held in pretrial detention. He had been charged in France with raping a minor, but he was actually also being investigated for trafficking women to the United States for Epstein to abuse. Now, his lawyers have put out a statement saying he fought for his innocence to the end. I'm going to read that to you. It says, his distress was that of a 75-year-old man caught up in a a media judicial system that we should be questioning. Jean-Luc Brunel never stopped claiming his innocence and had made many efforts to prove it. His decision was not driven by guilt, but by a deep sense of injustice. Now, Yasmin, he was a longtime friend of Epstein's. These two men knew each other for decades. They traveled together frequently. There are a lot of pictures of Brunel on Epstein's private plane. Epstein actually helped him set up that modeling agency in the United States.
Well, let's show you what that modeling agency is really quickly. I'm just going to show you this page right here. This is called the One Mother Agency. This is the agency that was started by this is something that you don't know. This was started by Jeffrey Epstein and Jean-Luc Brunel. This was not that. He's almost right. There is something in the United States, but they are also in Kiev in the Ukraine. So you click on here and you can just sort of see, right? See, Ukraine, one of the hubs of human trafficking in the world. And here's the other one, Miami. There's where the other office is. So you've got Miami and you've got Ukrainians, right? So when you see the models here, right? These are the models. This is literally right now in real time what I'm showing you. This is the modeling. It's still open. This is still open. So you can sort of see here in the about, right? Since 2013, our agency works to find the best new faces within Ukraine to give them an opportunity to become successful in the modeling industry. Really? So anyway, you guys can look up the One Mother Agency anytime you like so that you can see it for yourself. That's what I want you to do. Don't believe me. Watch for yourself. That's why I bring you all the links, everything here you could see. It's all transparent here.
But they fell out when Epstein fell from grace, and Brunel actually ended up suing Epstein at one point, saying his association with him was damaging his modeling agency's business prospects. But one of the things that's so striking here is, as you said, Epstein has been dead for 3 years, but the fallout from his abuse just continues to reverberate and reverberate. Just this week, you'll remember Prince Andrew here in Britain settled that abuse case with Virginia Giuffre, a victim of Jeffrey Epstein's, who said that the prince abused her. Ghislaine Maxwell, of course, back in December, convicted of sex trafficking, of bringing young women to Epstein. So this really continues to echo. Yasmin?
So let's keep moving, just teaching you more about Jean-Luc Brunel. This is from Profiling Evil.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike King from Profiling Evil. A few months ago, we looked into the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell case. The focus of that earlier broadcast was on Maxwell and the grooming tactics that she had reportedly employed to assist Epstein in his criminal enterprise. Thing that Maxwell is being held for, reportedly
I want to get to it.
Large sums of money for short periods of work. Things like...
Never mind. We'll move on to another one.
Sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and a former French modeling agent facing charges of his own. Tonight, Jean-Luc Brunel is dead, found in his Paris prison cell hanged with his bed sheets, according to the Paris prosecutor's office. Authorities believe the 75-year-old died by suicide. It comes less than 3 years after Epstein was found dead in a Manhattan prison under similar circumstances. His death has been ruled a suicide. Brunel was awaiting trial after several former models accused him of rape and sexual harassment when they were minors.
What he was accused of in the context of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was using his position as a modeling scout to lure women to be abused by Epstein and by himself.
In a statement, Brunel's lawyers maintained their client's innocence, writing in part, his decision was not driven by guilt, but by a deep sense of injustice. It's the latest twist in the sprawling saga of Jeffrey Epstein, coming just days after Prince Andrew, another...
And there is Prince Andrew. And, you know, when you get into Jean-Luc Brunel, you're talking about Miami and Ukraine. That's where that agency is.
Epstein associate settled a sexual abuse lawsuit against him without admitting wrongdoing. And in December, Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of luring young girls to be abused by Epstein. She has requested a new trial.
That's right,
Tonight,
guys. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 10K subs. I would really appreciate it if you did that for me.
Maxwell's brother calls this latest death in
It's
the
in your
Epstein
hands.
orbit incomprehensible.
Do you fear for your sister's safety?
Yeah, I certainly do. I'm not a conspiracy theory person, but if you
And
were,
this is Ghislaine Maxwell's brother. Maxwell. Just kidding. I don't know his first name.
Conspiracy theory
Joey.
person, obviously you would say, well, you know, these
That's
things
a like
happen in
button.
threes, and no doubt Gillen is going to be taken out for whatever fantasy reason people seem to think about.
But for Brunel's accusers,
With Brunel's death, as with Epstein's death, many victims say that they still feel as though they've been denied that closure and that accountability.
Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
I mean, you know, you've just got one of these. So we're going to continue on a little more on this, because this is when this is Virginia Giuffre, the late Virginia Giuffre. This is when she testified against Jean-Luc Brunel.
Of Jeffrey Epstein's most widely known accusers, Virginia Roberts Giuffre testified against French modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel in a Paris court this week, and is calling on other witnesses to come forward about the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking network. She gave closed-door testimony as part of the international investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and others accused of being co-conspirators of the trafficking network. It is unclear what information was divulged during the hearing or what implications this will have for Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently...
Well, I mean, you know, in order to get into a supply of underage girls, you have to open a modeling agency that's international, apparently. You know, because that's how they did it. Not only that, but Les Wexner owned L Brands. They owned Victoria's Secret with all the modeling, right? So, you know, these are all industries that you'll see that they are connected.
imprisoned in the U.S., or Prince Andrew, who has evaded questioning by the FBI or charges for his involvement. In a 2016 deposition, made public in 2019, Virginia Giuffre reported that Jeffrey Epstein and his primary accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell has directed her to provide sexual services for modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, money manager Glenn Dubin, and the late Massachusetts Institute of Technology professor Marvin Minsky, as
Wow.
well as a foreign president and a well-known prime minister. During a TV
Would that happen to be Ehud Barak?
interview for a major U.S. network in 2019,
Wood
Giuffre
chipper.
stated that Jeffrey Epstein told her that he had slept with over 1,000 women that Brunel brought in. In an interview after her testimony, Virginia Giuffre stated that her court appearance was to be a voice for the Epstein trafficking network's victims, and to make sure that Jean-Luc Brunel is brought to justice. She said, "I wanted Brunel to know that he no longer has the power over me, that I'm a grown woman now, and I've decided to hold him accountable for what he did to me and so many others." She also put out a call urging victims or witnesses to come forward. She said, "I'm urging more witnesses, even if it is outside of the statute of limitations, to come forward. The judge is listening. The authorities are listening. I'm listening. We want to help put this monster away where he belongs," she said. "We can't do that unless we all work together." According to the investigative outlet Spooky Connections, Jean-Luc Brunel is a French model scout and former modeling agency manager, and a close associate of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. He led the modeling agency Karen Models, and founded MC2 Model Management, with financing by child trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, and which had offices in New York, Miami, and Tel Aviv. Jean-Luc Brunel was known being the son of a good family of the beautiful Parisian districts, and father was a high society Parisian real estate executive. Their presence and identities have been scrubbed from the internet. Brunel was a scouting tsunami according to the MC2 Model Management website for his access to girls from South America and Eastern Europe, and his reputation as a cocaine addict who sexually assaulted child models. In 2019, the Paris prosecutor's office opened a preliminary investigation into charges of rape, aggravated sexual aggression and criminal conspiracy related to offenses by the Epstein trafficking network on French victims or on French territory. On December 17, 2020, Brunel was arrested at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport and placed in police custody in connection with the Epstein case and on charges of child rape and sexual assault, sexual harassment, and child rape slavery, while he was about to embark for Senegal. Jean-Luc Brunel has been formally charged with the rape of at least one minor and sexual harassment. A statement from Brunel's attorneys denied any wrongdoing. He has also been placed under the status of assisted witness of aggravated human trafficking to the prejudice of underage victims for the purpose of sexual exploitation. The Paris prosecutor's office has declined to specify how many victims of rape there were. French prosecutors seeking more information from potential witnesses or victims and want to speak to anyone who might have information about the Epstein trial.
And this was from a few years back. So let's get to, which one are we going to do first? Oh yeah, let's get back to a little bit of the old Prince Andrew here.
About that night, she described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to
Here it is. First of all, I don't sweat. No, I never did, and I never did sweat. Never, never, never. Someone had mentioned Whitney Webb. I got something racked here for y'all to hear. This is because I gotta hit everything on the thumbnail, right? So now we're getting Elon Musk's involvement with Epstein and the Saudi Arabia boys. Let's go.
Accused of wrongdoing, but was subpoenaed because he was suspected of having had some sort of involvement with Epstein and JP Morgan. And there are allegations, of course, not really allegations, but it was reported.
And this is from the Katie Halper show. I just found this a little while ago, a couple hours ago. I'm subscribing right there to Katie. Thank you, Katie.
Before Musk was closely affiliated with Trump, that Epstein had been advising Tesla and was part of this effort in 2018 to take Tesla private with Gulf oil money or Saudi money. And at the time, Epstein was advising Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, and was also known to have a close relationship with the elite families of the United Arab Emirates, and also Kuwait, and I think Bahrain as well.
Yeah.
So perhaps they don't want to have that really be explored at this point. But some of the other figures that were subpoenaed and accused of wrongdoing, because in the case of the USVI case, it was specifically that JP Morgan's accounts with Epstein and relationship with Epstein was connected to the human trafficking, sex trafficking. And so you have people like Larry Page and Sergey Brin of Google, the Google co-founders, being subpoenaed as part of that. You have Tom Pritzker of Hyatt Hotels being subpoenaed. And of course, the Pritzkers are a very powerful family in Chicago, specifically very connected, for example, to the rise of Barack Obama as a politician, but also a lot of prominent think tanks like the Carnegie Endowment run by a Pritzker. And I think Tom Pritzker, who was subpoenaed here, ran for a long time or was chairman of the board of CSIS, which is one of these very national security adjacent think tanks with a lot of influence on U.S. national security policy. So probably people that can afford to be sort of left out of the limelight, I guess, because a lot of, what I've argued for a long time as it relates to Epstein is that, there's been a pretty much exclusive focus on his sex crimes, but not his financial crimes.
Right. And that's, I think, something that is the catalyst to the sex crimes, the financial crimes. This is where the compromise starts, right?
Epstein was a guy that, obviously the media narrative since his arrest and his death has tried to frame him as a great Gatsby kind of figure. He was all talk and just a charlatan and this and that. No, he was kept around by elite figures because he was very good at helping them evade taxes.
There you go.
And was very good at money laundering.
Remember what we said for Bear Stearns Foster, right? Is he was their money laundering expert. I said this earlier in the episode. That's what he was considered. That's why people came to him, because he knew where to hide money, but apparently he never had any clients. like officially through them. So when they're saying client list, could this just be some semantic avoidance? Could be.
And had a very, very intimate knowledge of the offshore banking system, where a lot of these families historically hide their money. So like the Pritzker family, for example, have early ties to organized crime going back to like the 20s and 30s. And they were one of the main clients early on of Castle Bank, which brings together some organized crime linked figures. And also the CIA through Paul Hellawell, who was a CIA banker that helped set it up. And, it helped launder money for...
And if you like the channel, if you like this kind of content, we just get right to the point here. We do not play around. We get right to the facts. Hit subscribe. We are almost at 10,000 subscribers. I mean, literally about 14 away from 10K subs. And I would love for that to happen on this program. I'll take off my shirt.
Organized crime interests, and also some of these...
I'm just kidding.
Families like the Pritzkers who later became...
But some people in the chat will take off their shirts, I'm sure.
Became very politically powerful. So,
and of course, the governor, J.B. Pritzker.
Will go
yeah, sure.
The mods will go topless if we hit 10K. Let's go.
And Penny Pritzker was Obama's Secretary of Commerce. Right. And the Pritzkers and the Crowns, who, Lester Crown was part of the mega group that we talked about earlier, and the Crown family, going back to Henry Crown, have extensive organized crime ties as well. They sort of helped Barack Obama's early career, for example, and sort of helped propel him to the presidency.
Financiers that are behind all of this, right? So the financial crimes, again, the catalyst to the blackmail.
And well, first as a senator, right? But sort of, have a lot of influence on Democratic politics.
At least that crime's organized.
In Chicago in particular. So it's really not surprising that you'd have a Pritzker be governor there. But they're quite a powerful and influential family. It doesn't really get talked about a lot. And speaking of the Crowns, on the board of JP Morgan for a long time was James Crown, Lester Crown's son, who, along with banking interests in Ohio, intimately tied to Leslie Wexner, basically had created...
Stop. We just hit 10,000. We just hit 10,000 subscribers. We just went over 10,000 subscribers. Guys, please keep that up. Please keep it up. Hit subscribe. Boom! Yeah, we just need a second here.
Gotta get them dollars. Say what? Say what? Gotta get them dollars. Say what?
Okay, we just hit 10K subs. Thank you so much, you guys. 10,000 subscribers. I'm tired. I'm tired, man. I've been on YouTube for 7 years on this channel. This channel has been 7 years. So thank you very much. Thank you. It's been a long year or two. So thank you.
Modern day JP Morgan with Jamie Dimon at the helm. They're totally responsible for Jamie Dimon being in charge of that bank.
Now, remember when I talked about Jamie Dimon the other day? Just up there with Leon Black.
Namely Crown, and also this guy named John Kessler, who, is just as much a Leslie Wexner henchman as Epstein was, and was intimately involved with Epstein as well. So, those are the people that put Jamie Dimon in charge.
Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Arguably, that explains what...
No, I'm going over people who are in his black book. These are the people that I'm talking about are factually there. I'm talking about other people talking about the black book. So, and I've covered everybody on the thumbnail so far.
Why Epstein and JP Morgan had such a close relationship.
It's that good.
And I think they just couldn't have that case go to court. So Pam Bondi could get a lot of that information if she wanted to, but I don't think there's any interest in exploring that.
What about Megyn Kelly? You said that she was, are you saying that she was downplaying it, or are you saying she was just reporting on?
Yeah, well, I don't regularly watch her show. I want to make that very clear. Full disclosure.
We're going to go to another interview here with Whitney Webb because I love the way she thinks, and I love the way she researches and goes. She follows the money. All right, that's one thing about Whitney Webb. She's going to follow the money.
Period of time, William Barr's already associated with the CIA.
Okay, now remember William Barr. She's now talking about William Barr, who we discussed. William Barr's father, Donald Barr, was the headmaster of a very fancy school called the Dalton School in Manhattan. And Epstein got hired by William Barr's father, Donald, the attorney general. Come on now. What the hell's going on here, right?
For the folks at YouTube and others, here's Snopes. Okay, so we're fact checking this. Did Bill Barr's father mentor Jeffrey Epstein and write a bizarre novel?
Okay, so if I can comment on that, we're not talking. I didn't say anything right now. We haven't said anything about there being a mentor relationship.
Sure,
right? It was a hiring decision.
Right.
So a lot of times with these fact check sites, they'll put in like, oh, there was no mentor relationship, and then they debunk the whole thing. But Donald Barr did write a bizarre novel. Yeah, and he did hire Jeffrey Epstein.
Can you pull up a little bit?
Those are facts right there.
Hang on, but let's see what these guys are saying, because these guys, people follow these guys. Mostly false. So go up, go up, go up, go up, go up, go up. So, okay, down at the top, let me read that one first. Claim, Donald Barr, father of U.S. General Bill Barr, hired Jeffrey Epstein as a teacher, served as his mentor, and wrote a novel about men raping teenage girls. Okay, go to the bottom. Mostly false. What's true? Donald Barr was headmaster of Dalton School in New York until the summer of 74. In 74, Epstein began working as a math and physics professor at the school. In 1973, Barr published a science fiction novel that contained several prominent references to and descriptions of rape and sexual slavery. What's false is Dalton is not an all-girls school and was not so when Epstein worked there. The claim that Barr was Epstein's mentor appears to be more than an idle speculations unsupported by evidence. Barr's novel does not celebrate slavery or sexual violence against underage girls, and in one instance, the protagonist brutal murders another character to avenge the rape of a teenage girl.
Right. So I wasn't familiar with the date of the publication of the book, but I knew it was around the ballpark, the same time that he's hiring Epstein, so I didn't know it was earlier, but I've never heard the claim that it was an all-girls school. As far as I understand, it was at this time.
I mean, who would want to write a book like that?
Both genders. But I haven't read the book. I've only read parts of it, but from what I understand, there is like a sex slavery thing, but not necessarily for like minors, right? But it is an odd.
For those of you who have just got here, we just surpassed 10,000 subscribers here on the Zero Dark Tony channel. I just want to thank everybody for being here. Keep subscribing. Hit the like button. Let's go.
Book, to be sure.
Whitney, I know we're going to go a bunch of different directions, but what I want to sort of hunker down on is what's the importance of this narrative that we're creating right now, or not that we're creating, that we're discussing, with Bill Barr's father, Donald Barr, Epstein. What's the importance of this
more broadly,
part of the story?
I would say this is the beginning of several other examples in Epstein's career where it seems like he has a meteoric rise that would otherwise have been unavailable to him if it weren't for some sort of connections that he possessed. He's stepping into some sort of support network that protects him, not just through his financial criminality, but his sex criminality. Because remember, he was doing this for a long time, including the sex crimes, and nothing happened to him. I mean, you have someone like in January 2020, you have Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife, coming out and say, we all knew what Epstein was doing. I mean, and there's no direct John McCain Epstein connection that I've seen. So this means, in the U.S. Senate, it's known what he's doing and nothing happens to him. You don't operate like that and abuse thousands of girls and get away with all of this stuff if you don't have someone behind you, right?
So this is just a case example, sort of an initial case example of like this sort of meteoric rise.
He shouldn't have been teaching.
Social climbing.
Yeah.
How does this happen?
Yeah.
There's something behind the scenes here, and this is sort of the first narrative of that.
He wasn't even qualified to teach public school, right? So he's teaching at one of the most elite, schools.
That happens sometimes. I got excited from 10K subs. I left the mute on. Sorry. I got excited. I just want to say we're at 10K subs again, and thank you. 10K subs is so great. It's a lot of fun, but we got work to do, so let's get it going.
In New York, and it's kind of odd.
This is at age 20.
There.
I did the math. This was in 1973. He was born in 1953, give or take.
Now stop.
So he's college age, give or take, at this point.
Yeah, I believe so. Somewhere. But he didn't graduate from college, right? So it's just unusual that he'd be in that circumstance at this elite school, and then it's again unusual that the head, one of the top guys at Bear Stearns would be like, "Come work for my bank," a guy that hasn't graduated from college and all this stuff, and it's supposedly because he mentored his daughter or his son. I think. I mean,
and this is, Jeffrey Epstein never had a job where he was qualified. Okay. He never had, from his teaching job, his early teaching job at the Dalton School, the very prestigious Dalton School, William Barr's father being the headmaster, former Attorney General William Barr, who recused himself from the Epstein matter, then unrecused himself, which we covered yesterday. You have this connection of William, his father, Donald, his father, the headmaster, who was under investigation at the Dalton School, and he left. So corruption's in the genes for some of these people.
There's a lot of discrepancies because the daughter was like, no, nothing to do with me. And then other people were like, yes. And, no one wants to say they had any association with him.
It's a very basic question because we can go, laundry list of the nasty, crazy things he's done. But very simply, was he a very smart guy? Like, as far as like anyone who around him was like, oh, he's really smart. That guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
As far as just basic IQ and basic, education.
Well, you've had a mix of responses, right? Since he became infamous, of people being like, yeah, he was really smart. And then other people being like, no, he was just a schmoozer and charismatic. And that was it. And he just bamboozled people. And I think the latter is sort of people trying to go back and rewrite history to an extent. I think he was very good at obviously he graduated from high school really young, but I think his real, knack for stuff had to do with his, financial abilities.
Let me just put it to you this way. You're not going to get away for this long if you're not smart, or even there's a better word for it.
Cunning,
not cunning, it's conniving.
Conniving is an excellent word. Conniving is a great word.
Where you can get away with, manipulate.
The woman talking is Whitney Webb. She is a leading researcher on the matters of Epstein. And this is Patrick Bet-David, and Whitney Webb is great.
Dating people for this long.
Yeah.
There's brilliance there.
He had a skill set that made people a lot of money. And that's part of why he got away with this for so long.
So let's talk, the skill set you're talking about is sex blackmail. Is that what you're talking about?
I think that's part of it. But as far as
financial crimes.
When it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, it looks like that sex blackmail angle didn't really start until the early 90s.
Right. It was when he saw that he could get away with it.
And this is a person, we're talking about Epstein in the 70s right now. Then there's the whole question mark of the 1980s and Jeffrey Epstein. And I would say that, like I mentioned earlier, the financial crime angle is just as important as the sex crime angle with Epstein. And it's also the least explored when you're talking about this guy.
So what do we not know? What do we not know about the 80s?
Okay, so he leaves Bear Stearns. I sort of mentioned there was this insider trading investigation, all of that. And then Epstein goes on to claim that he's a financial bounty hunter. That's his term for it. And there's numerous quotes in mainstream media of people that knew Epstein that were told during this period that he was a person
a financial bounty hunter. That sounds like a fun job.
Who claimed to find or hide money for powerful people. So he's either finding money that was looted or he's helping people hide looted money. So right there, you know that he's involved in some sort of financial gray area and that he has a very good working knowledge of the offshore banking system. I mean, that we can deduce from that, right? I think that's pretty.
So how does that help him? So it's a financial bounty. Okay, I get that. But the bounty people I know,
he calls himself a bounty hunter, a financial bounty hunter. That's his term.
He's used that terminology before, you're saying?
Yeah, this is in mainstream media. Yeah.
A financial bounty hunter. There's only a handful of ways you're able to get that.
But either way, whether you're helping people find money that was stolen or helping people hide their stolen money, you know where that money goes. And this, the labyrinth of where that money is hidden, you know it better than anyone. And that's why people go to you.
So the blackmail part is the creative one. So in the insurance industry, there's something called premium financing. And premium financing cases pay a lot of commissions. We're talking $10 million of commissions. One guy is doing a premium financing case with a big billionaire guy, and I'm not going to tell the story of who's who, but he takes the client away from the competitor. So the competitor who was about to close this case is going to get paid $5-something million, is upset. and says, you got to give this client to me because it's mine. The other guy's like, I'm not going to take the client. I'm not going to give the client. He says, no problem. He has 3 people that work for him, all drop dead gorgeous girls. They go and investigate because a lot of times these successful people, they eat at the same place, they sit at the same place, so it's easy to find them. He goes, creates an environment where the girl, it's the same script. She's going through a husband beating, all this stuff. And she says, I'm so sorry, sits at the same place at the bar. Eventually invites him back to her room. They go upstairs. They do what they do. He leaves. The videotapes. The insurance guy sends to the other guy, says, if you don't give me that client back, this is going to your wife, to your clients, to your employees, to everybody. So this is something, as weird as it sounds, this is not a abnormal thing.
I mean, that's what he did. That's how he got them, you know? That's how he got them because, well, they're already doing something illegal. Well, let's push it. Let's extort them a little bit. Let's make sure we keep these clients. Let's jump over to Alan Dershowitz. All right. And this is from 5 years ago. The internet never forgets, Alan. Let's have a look.
I only
Now, this is one of the guys in the Black Book. We're covering all things Black Book today.
With him in the context of academic meetings, meetings at Harvard. My relationship with him was academic, and then it was lawyer-client. It was marginally social, only in relation.
This is 5 years before the massage that he said he didn't take off his boxers.
To the academic part, but it was predominantly an academic relationship. And it all occurred before any of us had any idea. I never saw him in the presence of any underage person or even anybody close to being underage. The people I saw him with were in their late 20s or 30s. But I think it's true that all the people, the Harvard president, the Harvard provost, the professors, we were all shocked when we learned about the private life, which he kept completely walled off from the life he lived in academia at his office at Harvard.
Not shocked enough not to represent him.
I have never refused to represent a client, no matter how heinous the allegations are. I represented a young man who was accused of lining up 9 Buddhist nuns and monks and murdering them in cold blood. And
that was just a Tuesday afternoon.
Got his conviction reversed on constitutional grounds. I've represented, and I will continue to represent.
Well, I mean, everybody has a right to a defense. So this is Alan Dershowitz, defense attorney.
People charged with very, very serious crimes.
Yeah.
No,
he does see a lot of horrific crimes, even though he should be in prison himself.
Only 2 rules. I don't
represent. In my opinion, he's just dodging it, you know.
And fugitives, people who are seeking to evade justice, and I don't represent people who are in the business of committing crimes, or organized crime people, or terrorists. But I will represent anybody charged with a past crime, and Jeffrey Epstein was among the many who I represented. I've had over 250 cases in my career, many accused of crimes far more serious than those that Jeffrey Epstein was accused of committing.
Now, you know that Prince Andrew has been pulled into the spotlight again with the release of the video. What did you know about Prince Andrew's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
I met Prince Andrew through Lady Rothschild. She invited me to the birthday party for Lord Rothschild, at which...
What? Whoa, Slick. What did you just say?
Both Jeffrey Epstein was present and Prince Andrew was present. Prince Andrew then came and spoke to my class at Harvard. The dean at Harvard Law School then had a lunch for Prince Andrew, and he wrote a very nice note appreciating his invitation to Harvard. I was then invited by the Consul General of Boston to have dinner with Prince Andrew in Boston when he was visiting. And that was the nature of my contact with Prince Andrew. I never saw him in an inappropriate situation. I've only seen him in professional and social situations that were entirely appropriate.
I know, right?
Did you continue?
That is quite a guest list.
You to socialize with Prince Andrew ever at Jeffrey Epstein's houses or on a plane or on his island? Did you ever see Prince Andrew outside that academic atmosphere?
Absolutely not. And I was never on Jeffrey Epstein's island during the relevant time period, and I was never on his Lolita Express plane. I was on a plane with my team members, with my nephew, with my wife, with my daughter, and with my academic colleagues. But I never saw Prince Andrew either on an airplane or on an island or in any set.
Come on. What happened? What about the massage?
Other than the ones I've just described, academic and political in the sense of having a meeting at the home of the Consul General of Great Britain.
Lying. I mean, that's what it looks like to me, because we seem to have gotten a different story about massages and he's a married man and this and that and the other such and such and such. Come on now.
Austin.
Do you think it would be helpful if Prince Andrew came forward and cooperated with lawyers of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged victims, given the situation that we're in now? Do you think he should help?
Well, everybody has an obligation to contribute to the administration of justice. I went to the United States Attorney and the District Attorney immediately and told them everything and offered complete and total cooperation. I have never refused to answer a question either from the media or from law enforcement. It really all depends on what the facts are.
And we're going to jump back to him in a second and listen to some more Whitney Webb here.
Goes on quite often. Yeah, in these circles specifically.
Sure.
So knowing what you know, when you call yourself a financial bounty hunter, have you been able to investigate and see what his methods were to get the money back?
Unfortunately, it's super murky. There's very little we do know, but from what we do know, it is pretty interesting. So it seems like Epstein during this period had some sort of a relationship with a bank known as Bank of Credit and Commerce International, BCCI. According to the BCCI report, which is a U.S. Senate report, BCCI was involved in sex trafficking of minors. Apparently for VIPs and other people, whatever that means, I don't know, but some of them were prepubescent. And this is coming straight from the Senate report, right? Very underexplored aspect of this case. Yeah. The more you look at BCCI, it seems like, it was nominally a bank, a development bank, but really it's to me, sort of more like a private intelligence apparatus, sort of masquerading as a bank. A lot of intelligence involvement from the beginning, apparently Pakistani intelligence, but there was also, reports in Newsweek going decades back, of course, because BCCI imploded in 1991, saying that the CIA had some sort of role in creating BCCI and was very involved in money laundering and all other sorts of stuff, this particular bank. And Stephen Hoffenberg, who was a mentor to Jeffrey Epstein at some point, later in the 1980s, has said that Jeffrey Epstein had a relationship.
I got it. It's right here. It's the BCCI affair. So, for your viewing pleasure, I am going to drop this in the chat so that you guys can see it. All right, there you go.
Relationship with this bank. And
I'm fast. I'm fast.
We know from people like Vicky Ward, for example, that during this, financial bounty hunter phase, one of Epstein's main clients was Adnan Khashoggi, the arms dealer, who had
Adnan Khashoggi. I just mentioned his name the other day. These are the arms dealers. These are the money laundering clients that he needed.
Relationship with many intelligence agencies.
Khashoggi, as in Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist?
They're related.
Wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy how this web
of I mean, it's very nuts. Yeah. But I don't know if I necessarily, am qualified to talk about the Jamal Khashoggi case. But
just these names that keep popping up.
Yeah.
Bill Barr, what does he have to do with this?
Yeah.
Khashoggi journalist.
Yeah.
Clinton, Trump, Epstein,
the intelligence thing being confirmed from someone like Alex Acosta. He was told Epstein belonged to intelligence, and you're talking about all these names. They have all these different intelligence affiliations. It starts to become clear there's something much deeper to the Epstein case that, mainstream media isn't interested in touching at all.
And they never will be. So let's just jump back over here. We're going to go into a little bit more of the Jean-Luc Brunel story so you can just hear what's going on. Remember, Jeffrey Epstein's friend, Jean-Luc Brunel, his died the same way that Jeffrey did.
Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a show of staggering genius today, Robbie. Do we not?
It says impressive on the screen.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be a heartbreaking show of staggering genius.
Wow, we're upgrading right in live.
We are. It just got better.
Just got better. Well, we're gonna blow your socks off with this because we have Newsweek deputy opinion editor Batya Ungar-Sargon here with us to discuss the protests in Ottawa. And Abby Deschman of the Canadian Civil Liberties Association will join us to argue that the Canadian government did not meet the threshold for invoking the Emergencies Act.
Right now, however, we want to go over some major news regarding the Jeffrey Epstein saga that came out over the weekend. Jean-Luc Brunel, a former French modeling agent who was charged with the rape of minors and was suspected of scouting girls for Epstein.
Jean-Luc Brunel, bro? Come on.
Was found dead in his Paris jail cell on Saturday. Virginia Giuffre commented on the matter on Twitter, saying the
loosen that tie a little, dog.
Suicide of Jean-Luc Brunel, who abused
Jean-Luc. All right.
And countless girls and young women, ends another chapter. I'm disappointed that I wasn't able to face him in a final trial to hold him accountable, but gratified that I was able to testify in person last year to keep him in prison.
Filings in a federal court in New York showed Giuffre alleged that Brunel would offer modeling jobs to girls as young as 12 and take them to the U.S. to, quote, farm them out to his friends, especially Epstein. Disgusting. Officials said that Brunel died in what appeared to be a suicide by hanging. The 76-year-old was detained back in December 2020 over allegations of rape and abuse. The investigation was a preliminary inquiry to see if Epstein had any French victims or had committed sex crimes on French territory. Brunel had been described as Epstein's best mate and pimp and is believed to be a key member of Epstein's inner circle. Ugh, gross.
They tying up loose ends here? Is that what's going on?
Well, I'm very excited for
no pun intended.
For the oh God.
Tying up loose ends. Get it. I get it. I get it. Let's see. Let's just hear some of this.
And we know this, that what happens in the White House is really probably just as good as any Real Housewives episode, as any soap opera. But especially now. But when we get to find out what was happening in the White House, that is chef's kiss. And the latest blow up at the White House is reportedly over the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Well, can you imagine that there's some sort of argument going on at the White House? You must be kidding. No. Really?
Or the lack thereof, or lack of information in the Epstein files, as the Department of Justice announced earlier this week. And the blow up comes from between Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and Kash Patel, the FBI director, and the deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino. There was a meeting where they were all discussing some things that have come out about in the way that the Epstein case has been.
Apparently, from some of the articles that we are looking at, Dan Bongino is not happy with what the goings on
rolled out to the public.
And Olivia Pope was there.
Yeah. You know what? She's the only person who is missing from this meeting. It is a fascinating meeting, and now there are people who think that Dan Bongino might be quitting. He did not show up for work on Friday, so whether or not he's coming back remains to be seen.
So Axios broke this story.
Yes.
That there was this blow up at this meeting, and it really does give you a little window to look inside and figure out who's saying what about the Epstein case.
So joining us right now is the man who broke that story, Mark Caputo from Axios. Welcome back to TMZ Live, Mark. How you doing?
Oh, great. Thanks. So first of all, congratulations on the story. I am fascinated by this because Patel and Bongino were leading the conspiracy theories about Epstein's death and whether there was
I think that Harvey's going to eat those words later.
A client list. And now it just kind
Before they were in office.
Before they were in office. And I never thought they would do a flip. But reading your story, it sounds like they almost have, and they're on board with the notion that it was suicide and there's no list.
Well, very much so. The Department of Justice, with the sign-off of the FBI, released a statement and a memo Axios first reported it, saying there was no client list and there was no suicide.
So pretty much everything. Okay.
Jeffrey Epstein
The world
and
flipped upside down.
Bongino and Patel himself both acknowledged, accepted, advanced that belief. They've even said it on television. So it is fair to say that their statements or their stated beliefs have gone 180 from the more conspiratorial side of things to the more official side of things, which is, yeah, there's bad stuff happened here. But again, the official position is no suicide, no client list.
So take us into the White House for this meeting, Mark, which happened
No face, no case.
On Wednesday. Was it before or after? Was the cabinet meeting on Wednesday morning?
I guess it is after the cabinet meeting. I must admit, I hadn't put that math together.
Right, the cabinet meeting where Pam Bondi was asked by a reporter about the Epstein files, and
then
President Trump jumped in and how dare you ask, and then she gave the answers she did, and I guess after that, then this meeting happens. Tell us who was there and what it was about.
So Bongino and Kash Patel went into this meeting with Pam Bondi there. I believe it was Bondi who called or had it called Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, and Taylor Budowich, who is the deputy chief of staff. And it was a real heated meeting. And Bongino at one point was accused of leaking or causing to be leaked a story in News Nation that said that he and Kash Patel had wanted to release this evidence sooner, but it just didn't happen.
And I mean, this has been part of this whole back and forth with, this is the downside of what politics can do.
Bongino denied it, to be clear. And then the subject came up of this issue of the video of the cell or the outside of the cell of Epstein's. This was released as a way for the Department of Justice to prove that there was no murder, because it shows no one is going inside of Epstein's cell at the time where he, according to authorities, committed suicide. The problem is this is 10 hours of video, but there's a, quote, missing minute there. And no one caught the fact that there is 60 seconds of this 10-hour period that are gone. And when that video hit the internet and internet sleuths started to look at it, yes, there are some people who spent 10 hours of time watching surveillance video of essentially nothing happening.
Just sitting there and watching that door for 10 hours. I think the minute was Nick Tartaglione. We went over Nick Tartaglione, the former police officer, Long Island cop, convicted of several murders.
It blew up and there was tension over it. And the people who were critical of Bongino said, look, you were in charge of this. You were the one who unearthed this video. You brought it to the Justice Department. You said you vouched for it. You reviewed it. How come the 60 seconds is missing? By the way, there is a technical explanation of it. I can bore you with it if you want, but safe to say.
Something to do with the resetting. It just doesn't sound right. A whole minute. Okay.
The meeting didn't go well. Bongino eventually wound up leaving, not on good terms, and continued to stew about it. And on Friday morning, we were told he might resign. Now, we were then told he's not resigning, but he's not at work today. And we'll have to see if he ultimately shows up for work going forward.
I'm confused because you said that he now believes there was no murder and there is no list. But as for the murder, are you saying that Bongino was blindsided, didn't know about the 1 minute that was missing? And if there really is a minute missing, is he back on the conspiracy theory?
I don't believe he's back on the conspiracy theory. I haven't heard that. And obviously, if you're going to go murder someone in a minute, I've never murdered anyone. Maybe I guess you could do it, but that is a very small period of time. In which to hang them, I'm not quite sure. But be that as it may, the reality is, yes, there's a lot of suspicious things about Epstein's death. I mean, he was on suicide watch, and yet somehow he wound up committing suicide, according to authorities. So, yeah. However, we have not heard, nor has Bongino stated or implied.
And Bongino was leading the argument of this being, several things that, I personally feel that we're not going to find out the truth for a little while. But I think that this blow up it might help. It might help lead to the truth, right? With Bongino considering leaving, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal.
In any way, shape, or form that he believes that there was a murder. Apparently, he still believes, Kash Patel believes, all the official authorities believe that this was a suicide.
And he says, so he's
pissed
pissed off because he thinks Pat Bondi mishandled it.
Correct. What happened with Bondi is early on in the administration, Bondi said, I've got the Epstein client list. She didn't, these aren't her direct words, but responding to a question about Epstein's client list, she says, I have it on my desk. She said, and she was going to review it and then she was going to release everything. Well, it turns out according to them, there's no client list. So it appears, the best we can tell, that Bondi had
hit the like button, guys. We're almost at 500 likes.
Believed that these things existed, and rather than sort of ascertain the facts ahead of time, shot out of the cannon, made these statements, and then it's sort of clean up on aisle MAGA that's continuing to go on.
Right. So you got to imagine that.
No, that it becomes a political argument rather than an argument on the principles of truth and transparency, right?
But anyway, Adnan Khashoggi during this period in the 1980s, one of his main banks was also BCCI. And this is the same time when Adnan Khashoggi starts to put a lot of this stuff that later becomes known as Iran-Contra into motion, which also involves, of course, drug trafficking, money laundering, arms trafficking. It's a very complex
which Pat is very familiar with the Iran-Contra affair.
So let's keep going back to the 80s. So is that pretty much all we know about what happened with him in the 80s?
With the financial bounty hunter stuff? Well, the other thing is too, right? So, Bill Casey had this relationship with Bear Stearns. He's CIA director. Epstein leaves, and then he teams up with someone like Adnan Khashoggi. And then around the same time, two other people take on Adnan Khashoggi as clients. Robert Keith Gray, who worked on...
It was arms dealers. It was people who needed money to be laundered, all right?
The reason I've been so open and forthright is I have absolutely nothing to hide. I have had sexual relations with one woman since the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. That's my wife. I don't flirt. I don't touch. And that's why I can be completely forthright about everything. Every individual has to make a decision based on what their life has been like and whether they can or cannot be cooperative. I can tell you one thing for sure.
I just want to ask you a straightforward question about Jeffrey Epstein. When you secured him a reduced conviction and sentence, it wasn't a federal case, it was a state case. Did Jeffrey Epstein ever talk to you about his sex trafficking, about his victims, about his sex slaves? Did he ever talk to you about anything that never...
Oops. Hold on. Let's get back to this. I pressed the wrong thing. It's all right. Give me a sec.
Very closely with Bill Casey on the Reagan campaign, and Roy Cohn, the lawyer, who also worked very closely with Bill Casey on the Reagan campaign. And as I note in volume 1 of my book, both of those men have very extensive ties to sexual blackmail.
Roy Cohn does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Roy Cohn was a lawyer for a lot of mobsters, for many of the mobsters.
Yes.
And many powerful people in New York. He was the guy you got when, you needed somebody to take care of you. Now,
sorry about that. Just had to do a little here.
Alleged victims, often poor young women who do not have, as it were, the firepower behind them.
I represent 50% of my cases pro bono. I have represented numerous women. I've represented a woman who killed her husband because she was a battered woman. I've represented another woman who was accused of killing her husband. I represented a woman who was locked up by her husband in a mental hospital. I represented a young girl who was taken away from her mother because her mother was having a relationship with another woman. I do more pro bono representation of victims of harassment, but I also represent people who are wealthy. But the vast majority of my clients over the years have been without means. And so people know about my famous cases, Klaus von Bülow or Jeffrey Epstein or O.J. Simpson. I don't choose sides. I'm a lawyer. I'm like a doctor and I'm like a priest. I represent people who need representation. And I'm one of the few lawyers who represents half of my clients on a pro bono basis.
Wow. Pro bono guy. He's trying to, this was 5 years ago. This is before all the reality came out where he didn't take off his underwear. But before, remember, no touching, no nothing. But then a massage. Okay.
Is Roy Cohen's story at all linked to J. Edgar Hoover or no? Is there any connection between the two?
Yeah, I mean, I write about it pretty extensively. They were very close. And, you know, even Roy Cohen's, probably one of his best known biographers, Nicholas von Hoffman, that wrote Citizen Cone, just couldn't really even explain why the official story of J. Edgar Hoover and Roy Cohen's meeting, he just found it very odd because it was so uncommon at that time for someone to just waltz in to J. Edgar Hoover's office and have that kind of access to him.
And this is how, you know, the FBI has seemingly worked ever since. It's not me. No, that's me. What? Somebody get him a crumpet or something and have any recollection of anything that you're talking about. I don't know what you're doing here. Who's let you in? Why are all these lights around me? Madam, excuse me, what are you doing?
I think it is you next to her in the photo.
No.
Oh, it's definitely me.
Yeah, well, it's me, but it's not me. I don't know, but my hand. It's me, but it's not my arm or my hand or anything of the like. What are you talking about? No, but
Been doctored, but I don't recollect that photograph.
I don't
ever being
recollect
taken.
that photo. Well, it is me, but it is not actually my arm. Hit the like button. I don't know if it's my arm or if it's me or if it's something about me. I'm not sure.
And you don't recollect having your hand round her waist.
No. Ways of affection are not something that he do. Well. Ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? What a stellar day here for the Zero Dark Tony channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. I want to thank the mods. I want to thank everybody for getting us to over 10,000 subscribers. I want to thank everybody for liking and sharing and getting into the conversation. That's what it's all about. Hit the notification bell. We are going to have more about this. We have Ghislaine Maxwell coming up. We have Les Wexner. I'm going to take you down the rabbit hole so deep, you're going to need a flashlight. And maybe we'll have one for you. But I do appreciate you coming out. We do have the Rumble show tonight. And for those that are new, we will definitely see y'all on the next one. Thanks so much, guys.